The skeleton reaches forward with hands that have ended civilizations. His voice scrapes through reality like nails on the fabric of existence itself. The Lich stands before Prismo, and he has one wish. I wish for the extinction of all life. 5 words. That is all it takes to threaten every timeline, every being, every moment that has ever mattered. And Prismo, the 2-dimensional wishmaster who lives at the centre of time, floating in his cosmic bachelor pad with his wall of infinite screens and his jar of cosmic pickles, has to grant it. Because that is what Prismo does. 1 wish per customer. Any wish. No Takesies, Backsies. But here is the thing about Prismo that makes this moment so terrifying and so fascinating. He is not evil. He is not even indifferent. He is just bound by rules older than you itself. Rules that say desire must be honoured, even when desire wants to unmake the universe. Watch his face as the Lich makes his demand. There is sadness there, resignation, the exhaustion of someone who has seen countless wishes twist reality into shapes it was never meant to hold. Then Finn screams his counter-wish, and everything breaks. In this video, we're going to explore every single wish Prismo grants throughout Adventure Time. The consequences that ripple through timelines like stones thrown into an infinite pond. The cosmic rules that bind even reality itself, and the heartbreaking truth about what it means to be an all-powerful being who is also just incredibly, devastatingly lonely. We're going to talk about Farm World, about Jake's sandwich that became a cosmic running gag, about death and resurrection at the centre of time, and about why the most powerful entity in the multiverse spends most of his existence watching movies and hoping someone will visit him just to hang out. So get cozy, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's start. Because Prismo is not just a plot device. He's not just the guy who grants wishes when the story needs reality to bend. Prismo is one of the most fascinating characters in Adventure Time, precisely because he embodies the show's central tension between infinite power and intimate vulnerability, between cosmic stakes and personal connection, between being able to reshape existence and being unable to escape the prison of your own nature. Let's start with what we know. Prismo is the Wishmaster. He lives in the Time Room, which exists at the centre of time itself, outside normal reality but somehow touching all realities simultaneously. He appears as a 2-dimensional being, a pink and yellow figure who seems to exist on a flat plane, floating in a room decorated like the ultimate 1980s hangout space. There are beanbags. There are screens showing every moment of time happening at once. There is that pickle jar, which we need to talk about because it is both hilarious and philosophically loaded. And Prismo grants wishes. 1 wish per person per lifetime. The wish must be spoken clearly. Prismo interprets wishes literally but not maliciously. He is not a genie trying to trap you with clever wordplay. He is not the monkey's paw waiting to punish your hubris. He's something stranger and sadder, a cosmic bureaucrat who processes desires with the weary professionalism of someone who's done this job for eternity and knows exactly how it usually ends. But here is where Adventure Time gets weird in that specifically Adventure Time way. Prismo is also the dream of an old man, not metaphorically, literally. Somewhere, in some mundane corner of reality, an old man sleeps, and his dream takes the form of a cosmic wish-granting entity who exists at the centre of all time. Wake the old man up, and Prismo ceases to exist. The dreamer and the dream are connected in ways that make ontology professors weep with frustration, because this is not just a clever plot twist. This is Adventure Time asking fundamental questions about consciousness, existence, and whether being imagined makes you any less real. Think about that for a second. Prismo has power over reality itself. He can reshape timelines. He can create alternate universes. He can grant any wish, no matter how impossible, no matter how universe-breaking, and yet he is simultaneously the most fragile being in existence, because his entire reality depends on an old man continuing to sleep. 1 rude awakening, and the Wishmaster vanishes like morning mist, like he was never there at all. Except, he was there. He is there. He has friendships. He has memories. He watches movies with Jake and discusses the finer points of sandwich construction. He gets lonely. He makes jokes. He grieves when people die and celebrates when they visit. He exists in a state of profound existential vulnerability while wielding the kind of power that makes gods jealous. That is the paradox at the heart of Prismo. He is simultaneously everything and nothing, all-powerful and powerless, eternal and desperately fragile. He can reshape reality but cannot leave the time room. He can grant any wish but cannot wish himself free. He can see all moments of time at once but cannot escape the loneliness of being the only person in his particular prison. And the show uses this to explore something really profound about desire, consequence, and what it means to have power. Because every wish Prismo grants becomes a meditation on these themes. The Lich wishes for extinction and accidentally creates Farm World, a timeline where trying to erase evil just relocates it. Jake wishes for a sandwich, and it becomes this running thread about friendship mattering more than cosmic power. The Ice King tries to wish and cannot, because he has already used his wish in a past life, which opens up questions about identity, continuity, and whether we are the same person we were before. Prismo turns wish-granting into philosophy class, but he does it while wearing the aesthetic of a cosmic bachelor who just wants someone to appreciate his pickle collection. Let's talk about that time room for a moment, because the space Prismo inhabits tells us so much about who he is. The room exists outside time but at its centre, which is the kind of spatial paradox that Adventure Time loves. The walls are covered with screens showing every moment that has ever happened or will happen, all occurring simultaneously. Past, present, future, all collapsed into eternal now. Prismo can watch Finn and Jake's adventure yesterday, while simultaneously observing the heat death of the universe, billions of years from now, while also witnessing the first single-celled organisms squirming in primordial ooze. That is his existence. All of time, all at once, forever. No wonder he loves having visitors. Imagine seeing everything that has ever happened and everything that will ever happen, every triumph and tragedy, every moment of joy and despair, all happening simultaneously on an infinite wall of screens. Now imagine being the only conscious being experiencing this. The loneliness is not just emotional, it is ontological. Prismo exists in a state of total knowledge and total isolation, which might be the most Adventure Time sentence ever written. But he decorates his cosmic prison like a hangout space because what else are you going to do? If you are stuck at the centre of time for eternity, you might as well have beanbag chairs and a good pickle jar. The room tells us that Prismo has not given up on the possibility of connection, on the hope that sometimes people will visit him not because they want something, but because they want to spend time with him. The room is optimistic in the saddest way possible. It is a space designed for friends, occupied by someone who rarely has them. And that pickle jar, we need to talk about the pickle jar. On the surface, it is a sight gag. This cosmic entity with power over reality itself keeps a jar of pickles handy, like he's running a corner deli at the end of the universe. But dig deeper, and the pickles become this perfect symbol of Prismo's existence. Pickles are cucumbers that have been transformed, preserved in a state that is neither their original form nor decay. They exist in suspension, changed but maintained, trapped in a jar for as long as someone keeps them. Prismo is a pickle in a cosmic jar. He has been transformed from whatever he was originally, the dream of an old man, into this eternal being with infinite power but no freedom. He is preserved in this state, neither fully alive in the way we understand life nor capable of death in any conventional sense. He is suspended in the time room, maintained by forces beyond his control, waiting in his jar for someone to come by and interact with him. Also, pickles are delicious, and Prismo knows it. Sometimes a pickle is just a pickle. That is very Adventure Time too. The show introduces us to Prismo in Season 5 during the Finn the Human and Jake the Dog episodes, which is perfect timing because by then we understand the series is willing to go strange places philosophically and emotionally. We have already met Hunson Abadir, the Lord of Evil who is also Marceline's embarrassing dad. We have explored the Ice King's tragic backstory. We know this show treats cosmic entities as people with feelings, problems, and relatable struggles. So when we meet Prismo, we are primed to accept him as both a reality-bending wish-granter and a guy who just wants someone to watch movies with. The duality does not feel contradictory. It feels like the most Adventure Time thing possible. Of course, the being at the centre of time is powerful and lonely. Of course, he grants wishes but cannot solve his own problems. Of course, he has the aesthetic of a cosmic basement dweller who decorates with lava lamps and old technology. What makes Prismo fascinating is how the show refuses to let him be just one thing. He is not purely comic relief, though he is often funny. He is not purely tragic, though his existence is heartbreaking. He is not purely a plot device, though wishes do drive several major storylines. He is all of these things simultaneously, which makes him feel real in a way that purely powerful beings rarely do. Prismo has a boss. The fact that the Wishmaster who can grant any wish and reshape reality still has to answer to someone called the Boss is both hilarious and profound. It suggests cosmic bureaucracy, layers of power that extend beyond even Prismo's considerable abilities. It means that even at the level of reality-warping wish granters, there are rules, hierarchies, systems. Nobody escapes middle management, not even in the time room. The Boss never fully appears in the show, remaining this mysterious authority figure who occasionally gets mentioned when Prismo needs to explain why he cannot or will not do something. This is brilliant storytelling because it leaves the cosmic hierarchy partially unexplained, which makes the universe feel bigger and stranger. We do not need to understand the full chain of command. We just need to know that Prismo, for all his power, is still bound by rules he did not make and cannot break. And that brings us back to wishes and consequences. Prismo does not grant wishes maliciously. He is not trying to teach anyone lessons or punish them for their desires. But wishes go wrong anyway, because desire itself is complicated. Because people want things without understanding what those things truly mean. Because the gap between what we think we want and what we actually need is often an unbridgeable chasm. The Lich wants extinction. Simple, clear, straightforward. Prismo would have granted it. The entire universe would have ended not because Prismo is evil, but because those are the rules. One wish per customer. Speak it clearly. He grants it. Consequences happen. But Finn interrupts with his own wish, and this is where everything spirals in ways nobody predicted. Finn, desperate and terrified, watching the Lich about to end existence, screams out his wish. I wish the Lich never existed. Logical. Understandable. Completely disastrous. Because you cannot erase the Lich without erasing everything the Lich affected. You cannot remove that much evil, that much entropy, that much death from reality without the entire timeline reshaping itself around the absence. Finn's wish does not just delete the Lich. It creates Farm World, an alternate timeline where the Mushroom War ended differently, where Finn grew up ordinary, where Jake never existed, where the bomb that would become the Lich sits dormant but not destroyed. The wish technically works. In Farm World, the Lich as Finn knows him never existed, but the darkness remains. Evil finds new forms, the bomb waits, and Finn's counter-wish, born from heroism and desperation, creates a timeline of suffering that will haunt the series for seasons to come. That is what Prismo does. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but inevitably. He grants wishes and reality bends, and consequences ripple outward like stones thrown into still water, and nobody, not even the Wishmaster himself, can predict exactly where those ripples will end. We are going to explore all of this. Every wish, every consequence, every moment where desire met reality and created something nobody expected. We are going to talk about Jake's perfect sandwich and what it reveals about friendship. We are going to examine the Ice King's failed wish attempts and what they tell us about identity. We are going to walk through Prismo's death, his resurrection, and what it means when a being who exists as a dream gets mourned by real people who genuinely love him. But first, we need to understand the time room itself, because the space Prismo inhabits is not just a location. It is a statement about existence, isolation, and the price of seeing everything while being unable to change your own circumstances. The time room is a prison and a palace, a cosmic hub and a lonely cell, and understanding it means understanding Prismo himself. So let's step into that space. Let's sit on those beanbag chairs, look at those infinite screens showing all moments at once, and ask the questions that Adventure Time asks best. What does it mean to have power? What does it mean to be alone? And what does it mean when the person who can grant any wish in the universe cannot wish himself free? The answers are weird, heartbreaking, and surprisingly funny. Just like Prismo himself, just like Adventure Time. just like the best stories about cosmic beings who just want someone to hang out with them at the end of reality. The time room does not exist in space. It does not exist in time. It exists somewhere else entirely, in that conceptual pocket dimension that Adventure Time loves to explore, where physics takes a coffee break and metaphysics runs the show. Try to imagine it, the centre of time. Not the middle of a timeline, not some arbitrary point on history's flow. The centre, the hub, the place where all moments converge, where past and future collapse into an eternal present, where causality gets dizzy and sits down for a while. This is where Prismo lives. This is his home, his prison, his workplace, and his cosmic bachelor pad all rolled into one impossible space. The room itself is a paradox wrapped in 1980s aesthetic choices. Picture a vast chamber that somehow feels both infinite and intimate. The floor is solid but undefined, existing without clear boundaries. The lighting has that warm, ambient glow of a place designed for comfort but filtered through the lens of cosmic weirdness. And the walls? Oh, the walls are where things get really strange. Every surface is covered with screens. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Maybe infinite, because concepts like quantity get fuzzy when you're at the centre of time. Each screen shows a different moment from somewhere in the timeline. Not recordings, not playback. These are windows into actual events happening right now, which is to say always, which is to say the word now loses all meaning when you can watch the Big Bang and the heat death of the universe simultaneously, while also observing Finn eat a sandwich last Tuesday. Walk around the time room and you see everything. The Mushroom War happening in real time, frozen in eternal recurrence. Princess Bubblegum's first moment of consciousness. The day Marceline's mum sang her that song. Simon Petrikov finding the crown. Jake being born. The Lich rising. Everything that has ever happened in every timeline, playing out on infinite screens like the universe's most overwhelming home theatre system. This is Prismo's view. All the time. Forever. No wonder he developed such a specific decorating style. When you spend eternity watching every moment of existence simultaneously, you need somewhere to sit that feels normal. Hence the beanbag chairs, hence the cosy lighting, hence the deliberate choice to make this cosmic nexus point feel like a place where you could chill with friends, even though friends rarely visit, and when they do, they usually want something. The aesthetic is so specifically 1980s that it becomes this beautiful character detail. Prismo has seen all of history, all of future history, every possible fashion trend, every design movement, every cultural moment. And he chose this, the lava lamp vibe, the casual hangout space atmosphere, the kind of room where you would watch movies and eat snacks and argue about which animated character would win in a fight. It is Prismo's rebellion against his own existence. He cannot leave. He cannot change his fundamental nature. But he can control his environment, and he chooses to make it feel human. Or dog-like, or candy person-ish. He makes it feel like a place designed for connection, even when connection is the rarest thing in his existence. The pickle jar sits on a shelf, always visible, always accessible. We touched on this in the last section, but it deserves more attention because it is such a perfect encapsulation of Adventure Time's approach to cosmic horror and domestic comfort existing simultaneously. Prismo, the being who can reshape reality, keeps pickles. Not cosmic pickles infused with the essence of creation, not pickles that grant wishes or contain universes, just regular pickles, probably crunchy, definitely delicious. But the placement of that jar is not random. It sits where Prismo can see it, where visitors can access it. It is an offering, a sign of hospitality in a place where hospitality should not exist. You want a pickle? Prismo has pickles. You want to hang out? Prismo has beanbag chairs. You want to witness the birth and death of stars? Well, just look at any of the infinite screens showing that exact thing happening right now, forever. The pickle jar says, despite everything, this is still a place where people can share snacks. It humanizes the time room. It makes Prismo's prison also his home. Now let's talk about the spatial impossibility of this place. The time room exists at the center of time, but where is that physically? Nowhere. Everywhere. The question does not apply because the time room operates on different rules. You cannot walk there. You cannot fly there. You cannot teleport there using normal magic. The only way to reach the time room is through the dimensional portal that appears in specific locations, or by already knowing how to access spaces that exist outside conventional reality. Jake learns this the hard way. He has to use the Enchiridion to open the portal. He has to understand that he is not travelling through space but stepping sideways through reality itself, moving from the normal flow of causation into the cosmic break room where causation goes on vacation. And once you're there, you're outside time. Events in the time room do not have duration in the normal sense. You could spend years there and return to ooh to find only seconds have passed, or spend seconds and return to find centuries have elapsed. Time is relative, and in the time room, it is relatively irrelevant. This has profound implications for Prismo's existence. He does not age. He does not experience time as linear progression. For him, all moments are equally present, which means he experiences existence as an eternal now filled with everything that has ever happened or will happen. His consciousness exists in a state that would shatter most beings. The sheer weight of experiencing all moments simultaneously should be enough to drive anyone mad. But Prismo seems okay, mostly. He is lonely, sure. He is bored sometimes. But he maintains his personality, his sense of humour, his capacity for friendship. How does he do that? How does any conscious being maintain sanity when experiencing time as a flat circle of infinite everything? Maybe he does not. Maybe what we see as Prismo's laid-back personality is actually his coping mechanism. Maybe the jokes, the casual attitude, the obsession with pickles and sandwiches and movies, maybe that is how he keeps himself anchored to something resembling a coherent identity. When you can see everything, you focus on small things. When eternity stretches before and behind you simultaneously, you make pickles matter. This is where Adventure Time gets really smart about cosmic horror. The time room should be the most terrifying place in existence. Infinite knowledge, eternal isolation, complete awareness of every suffering, every death, every tragedy playing out forever on those screens. Prismo can watch wars happen. He can observe children dying. He can see relationships fall apart, dreams get crushed, hopes extinguished. All of it. All the time. Forever. And he just lives with it. Because what choice does he have? The show never dwells on this horror explicitly, but it is there in the background of every Prismo scene. The awareness that behind his friendly demeanour and cosmic hospitality is a being experiencing something no mind should have to experience. He has seen every possible version of suffering and joy, and has done so for longer than most beings have existed, yet he chooses kindness. He chooses friendship. He chooses to make his prison feel like a home where people are welcome. That is heroism on a scale most heroes never even consider. But we need to talk about the deepest paradox of the time room, the one that makes Prismo's existence the most fragile thing in reality. He is a dream. The time room exists because an old man dreams it. Prismo exists because an old man dreams him. Everything about this impossible space at the centre of time depends on continued REM sleep happening somewhere in mundane reality. Who is the dreamer? The show gives us glimpses but never full answers, which is perfect because mystery serves the story better than explanation. We know he's an old man. We see him briefly when Jake visits him in Wake Up and Escape from the Citadel. He seems ordinary, confused, unaware that his sleeping mind generates an entire cosmic entity. The dreamer sleeps in a normal bed in a normal room somewhere. Maybe in Ooh, maybe in some other dimension. The location matters less than the relationship between sleeper and dream. This old man closes his eyes and unconsciously creates Prismo, the time room, the power to grant wishes that reshape reality. He does this without knowing, without intending, without understanding the weight of what his sleeping mind brings into being. Wake him up, and Prismo ceases to exist. The dream ends. The time room vanishes. Every wish ever granted remains, but the granter disappears like he was never real. Except he was real. He is real. The metaphysics here make philosophers weep because Adventure Time is asking fundamental questions about consciousness and existence, while maintaining a visual aesthetic of cosmic 1980s basement hangout. Is Prismo less real because he is dreamed? The show's answer is a firm no. Prismo has thoughts, feelings, agency, relationships. He makes choices. He experiences loneliness and joy. He grieves when friends die and celebrates when they visit. The fact that his existence depends on someone else's unconscious mind does not make him less of a person. It makes him more vulnerable, but not less real. This connects to Adventure Time's broader meditation on what makes something alive or real. Princess Bubblegum creates life from candy. BMO is a sentient video game console. The Ice King's identity is fractured across Simon Petrikov's fading humanity and the Crown's magic. Reality in OO is fluid, and personhood extends beyond traditional biological definitions. So of course the being at the centre of time is someone else's dream. That does not make him imaginary, it makes him cosmically precarious. Think about the anxiety of that existence. Prismo knows he is a dream. He knows that somewhere an old man sleeps, and if that old man wakes up, Prismo ends. Not dies, because death implies you existed and then stopped. Prismo would simply cease, like he never was. Every moment of his existence is contingent on continued unconsciousness happening elsewhere. He cannot protect himself. He cannot ensure his own survival. He exists at the mercy of someone who does not even know he exists. That is cosmic horror, without any of the tentacles or madness traditionally associated with the genre. It is existential dread wrapped in friendly pink and yellow colouring. Yet Prismo does not spend his time paralysed with fear. He lives his life, or whatever you call existence when you are a wish-granting dream at the centre of time. He grants wishes, he watches his screens, he makes pickles. He waits for visitors and hopes they will stay just to hang out. He forms real friendships despite knowing he could vanish at any moment. He chooses connection over the safety of isolation. The Time Room's architecture reflects this tension. It is simultaneously a fortress and a welcome mat, impossible to reach without specific knowledge, but decorated like a place designed for company. Existing outside normal reality, but furnished with the kind of comfortable mundanity that says, please stay, please talk to me, please see me as something more than a cosmic vending machine for wishes. Every design choice in the Time Room speaks to Prismo's dual nature. The infinite screens showing all of time, that is the cosmic Prismo, the entity with power over reality. The beanbag chairs and pickle jar, that is the lonely person Prismo, the dream who wants friends and connection, and someone to share snacks with while watching movies. The room has no windows except the screens showing everything, which means the entire room is windows, which means the room has infinite windows and none at all. It is sealed off from normal reality yet connected to all realities. You can see out infinitely but cannot leave. It is the ultimate introvert space designed by someone who desperately craves extrovert connection. And the colour scheme. That warm pink and yellow lighting that makes everything feel slightly unreal, slightly dreamlike. Of course it feels dreamlike. It is literally a dream. But the colours also feel safe, gentle, like sunset or cotton candy, or the kind of light that makes you want to relax and forget about cosmic dread for a while. Prismo could have made his realm look like anything. Vast and terrifying, coldly beautiful, geometrically impossible. He chose cozy. That choice reveals character. Prismo wants people to feel comfortable. He wants to ease the inherent weirdness of visiting a wish-granting dream at the centre of time. He wants the Time Room to feel less like a cosmic horror location and more like that friend's basement where you hung out in high school, watching movies and eating snacks and forgetting that the adult world was waiting. The room is also suspiciously empty for such a vast space. No clutter, no accumulation of objects from all the visitors across all of time. Prismo keeps things minimal despite having eternity to collect stuff. Why? Maybe because he knows he is temporary. Maybe because he understands that attachment to objects is meaningless when you exist at the mercy of someone else's sleep schedule. Maybe he just has good taste and knows that minimalism makes the pickle jar stand out better. Or maybe, and this feels right, maybe Prismo does not want the Time Room to feel like a museum of past wishes and past visitors. He wants it to feel present, available, ready for whoever comes next. The lack of clutter says, this space is for you, not for nostalgia about everyone who came before. It is an act of hospitality that extends beyond offering pickles. It is offering a space that feels new, like you're the first person who mattered here, even though countless others have visited before. That is sophisticated emotional architecture. Prismo has designed his prison to make others feel welcome, while he experiences eternal cosmic isolation. The generosity of that choice is staggering when you really think about it. The screens deserve more attention too, each one showing a different moment, a different timeline, a different possibility. Prismo can watch anything he wants. He has access to the universe's complete filmography, every moment ever experienced by any being anywhere. The ultimate streaming service, infinite content, never-ending entertainment, yet he still gets lonely. Because watching life happen is not the same as participating in it. Prismo can observe Finn and Jake's adventures. He can witness their triumphs and failures. He can watch their friendship develop across years of shared experiences, but he cannot join them. He can only watch and wait for them to visit him. The screens are a blessing and a curse. Infinite knowledge means infinite awareness of what you are missing. Prismo can see every party, every friendship, every moment of connection happening throughout all of time, and he is excluded from all of it except when people come to him. And even then, they usually want something. They want wishes, they want his power. They rarely want just him, except Jake. We will talk more about Jake later, but it matters here too. Jake visits Prismo just to hang out. He watches movies with him. He talks about sandwiches. He treats Prismo like a person, not a cosmic resource. And that transforms the time room from prison to hangout spot, at least temporarily. The space is still the same. The screens still show everything. The pickle jar still sits on the shelf. But when Jake is there, the time room becomes what Prismo designed it to be, a place for friends. This is what makes Prismo's existence so poignant. He built a place for connection in the least connected space in reality. He designed a room for community in the heart of absolute isolation. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, it works. Sometimes people visit and stay. Sometimes the room fulfills its purpose. But most of the time, Prismo sits alone in his cosmic bachelor pad, watching infinite screens showing him everything he cannot touch, keeping his pickles fresh, waiting for the next person to come ask for something he has, and they want. The time room is a monument to loneliness disguised as a party space. It is cosmic horror wrapped in comfortable furniture. It is the universe's waiting room, and Prismo is the only one who never gets called. He just sits and watches and exists and dreams. Because remember, he is a dream himself, which means the time room is a dream within a dream, and that recursion is either profound or a headache depending on how you look at it. Adventure Time looks at it as both. The show treats Prismo's existence with the weight it deserves while also never forgetting that this is fundamentally weird and kind of funny. A cosmic wish granter who lives in a place that exists nowhere and everywhere, who has infinite power but cannot leave his room, who can see all of time but cannot participate in any of it, who grants any wish but cannot wish himself free. That is the architecture of dreams, not the pleasant dreams where you fly or find treasure. The complicated dreams where you have everything and nothing simultaneously, where you're powerful and powerless, where you exist in a space designed for community but experience mostly solitude. The time room is perfect for Prismo because it is as paradoxical as he is. A place that should not exist, housing a being who depends on another's unconsciousness to persist, designed with care and hope, and the stubborn optimism that maybe, just maybe, the next visitor will stay a while. And sometimes they do. Sometimes the architecture of dreams becomes the architecture of friendship. Sometimes the cosmic horror of infinite isolation gets punctured by genuine connection. Sometimes someone sits in those beanbag chairs and shares those pickles and watches those infinite screens, and sees Prismo not as the wishmaster, but as a person worth knowing. Those moments make the time room what it was meant to be. Not a prison, not a cosmic vending machine, but a home. Strange, impossible, paradoxical, but home nonetheless. And Prismo keeps the pickles fresh, just in case. 1 wish per person per lifetime. That is the rule. Not 1 wish per person per Tuesday. Not 3 wishes like the traditional genie setup. Not unlimited wishes if you say please nicely. 1. Singular. For your entire existence, however long that existence might be. You could be Finn, a teenage human hero. You get 1 wish. You could be the Lich, an ancient cosmic force of entropy who has existed since before the Mushroom War reshaped reality. Still 1 wish. You could be a random candy person who stumbled into the time room by accident while looking for the bathroom. Guess what? One wish. Same rule applies to everyone because Prismo does not play favourites, and cosmic law does not care about your feelings. This limitation is fascinating because it immediately transforms wish granting from a fantasy power trip into a profound exercise in choice and consequence. You cannot experiment. You cannot test the waters with a small wish to see how it works before using your real wish. You cannot wish for more wishes because that is specifically against the rules, and Prismo will shut you down faster than Jake can say mathematical. You get one, make it count, or waste it on a sandwich. Either way, once it is done forever. But why? Why this specific limitation? Prismo has cosmic power. He can reshape reality, create alternate timelines, make the impossible happen. So why restrict each person to a single wish? It is not like granting multiple wishes would exhaust him. He exists at the centre of time with access to infinite possibility. Running out of wish-granting capacity is not the issue here. The answer reveals something deep about how Adventure Time understands power, choice, and consequence. The limitation is not about Prismo's capabilities. It is about maintaining cosmic balance. It is about ensuring that wish-granting does not become casual. It's about forcing people to confront what they truly want versus what they think they want, versus what they actually need. Think about how most wish-granting stories work. The protagonist gets 3 wishes, uses the first 2 poorly, and learns wisdom just in time to use the 3rd wish correctly. It is a narrative about growth through failure, about learning from mistakes. But Prismo's system does not allow that arc. You do not get practice wishes. You do not get do-overs. You walk into the time room, speak your desire, and live with what happens next. Forever. That is terrifying. That is also exactly the point. Because unlimited wishes would turn reality into chaos. Imagine if everyone who reached the time room could wish multiple times. Every mistake could be unwished. Every consequence could be rewound. Reality would become this constantly shifting mess of conflicting desires, each new wish overwriting or contradicting the previous ones. The universe would collapse into incoherence. One wish per person creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value, and value forces reflection. When you know you only get one shot, you think harder about what you really want, or at least you should. Some people still blow their wish on impulse, but that is a choice too. That is the point. The limitation makes the choice meaningful. Prismo explains the rules clearly to everyone who visits. He does not try to trick people. He does not hide information. He wants people to understand what they are getting into because he is not a villain. He is not the monkey's paw waiting to punish human hubris. He is a cosmic bureaucrat following protocols established long before he existed, trying to grant wishes as fairly and clearly as possible within those constraints. The wish must be spoken clearly. This seems obvious, but it matters. You cannot hint at what you want. You cannot expect Prismo to read your mind or interpret vague statements. You must articulate your desire in words, out loud, in a way that makes your intention clear. This is actually generous because it gives you control over the phrasing. It lets you be specific. It allows you to think through how you express your wish before committing to it. But it also means you are responsible for how you phrase things. Finn learns this the hard way. His panicked, "I wish the Lich never existed" is clear enough for Prismo to grant, but Finn did not think through what that meant. He did not consider the implications. He just blurted out the first thing that seemed like it would stop the Lich from ending all life. The clarity requirement was met, but wisdom was absent. And Farm World was the result. Prismo interprets wishes literally, but not maliciously. This is crucial. He is not looking for loopholes to twist your words against you. He is not trying to teach you lessons about careful wording through cruel irony. When you say what you want, he grants what you said, as directly as possible. If your wish has unintended consequences, that is because reality is complicated, not because Prismo is being clever. Compare this to traditional genie stories where the wish granter actively looks for ways to subvert the wisher's intent. The classic tale where someone wishes for wealth and receives it as insurance money after their child dies. That is malicious interpretation. That is a genie using technicalities to cause suffering. Prismo does not operate that way. He does not want people to suffer. He just grants what is wished for and lets reality sort out the implications. This makes Prismo fundamentally different from most wish-granting entities in fiction. He is not testing you. He is not judging your worth. He is not trying to prove that mortals are foolish for desiring things beyond their understanding. He is just doing his job, following the rules, granting wishes as accurately as his cosmic power allows. The philosophical implications here are staggering. Prismo's system suggests that desire itself, when actualized without wisdom, creates problems. Not because desires are evil, or because wanting things is wrong, but because the gap between what we think we want and what we truly need is often enormous. We want the Lich to never have existed without considering what that means for causality. We want infinite wealth without thinking about what having it would do to us. We want our deepest desires fulfilled without understanding that having them might not bring the happiness we imagine. Prismo grants wishes honestly, and honest wish granting reveals the truth about desire. It is complicated, often short-sighted, and almost never as simple as we think it is. Adventure Time uses this to explore what it means to have power and how we should use it. The show consistently argues that power without wisdom leads to disaster, that strength without compassion creates villains, that ability without responsibility corrupts. Prismo's wish-granting system embodies this philosophy. He has the power to give people what they ask for, but people rarely ask for what they actually need. The Ice King's failed wish attempt illustrates this perfectly. In Sons of Mars, we learn that the Ice King has already used his wish, not as the Ice King, but as Simon Petrikov, before the crown fully transformed him. This reveals something profound about identity, continuity, and the rules of cosmic bureaucracy. The Ice King and Simon Petrikov are technically the same person, same body, same deteriorating memories. But the crown has fractured Simon's identity so completely that the Ice King barely remembers being Simon. He has different desires, different priorities, different ways of understanding himself, yet Prismo's rules treat them as one person. The wish has been used. The Ice King cannot wish again, even though he barely remembers wishing in the first place. This raises questions that philosophy professors would love. Is the Ice King the same person as Simon Petrikov? If your personality, memories and desires change completely, are you still you? Does identity persist through radical transformation, or does transformation create a new person? Adventure Time does not answer these questions definitively, because they cannot be answered definitively. But the show uses Prismo's rules to explore them. The fact that the Ice King's wish slot is occupied means that on some cosmic level, continuity of identity persists even through the crown's corruption. Simon and the Ice King are one person, according to the laws that govern wish granting. This is both sad and profound. Sad because it means the Ice King cannot use wishes to fix himself or escape his madness. Profound because it suggests that even when we change beyond recognition, something essential about us persists. What did Simon wish for? The show never tells us explicitly, which is perfect because mystery serves character better than exposition, but we can guess. Simon was a kind, loving man trying to survive the Mushroom War while protecting Marceline. His wish was probably something selfless, something about saving Betty, or protecting Marceline, or maybe just surviving long enough to matter. Whatever it was, it did not save him from the crown. It did not prevent his transformation into the Ice King. The wish was used, and he still ended up trapped in magical madness for 1,000 years. That is the tragedy of wishes. Even when granted honestly and directly, they cannot solve everything. They cannot protect you from every consequence. They cannot ensure happiness or prevent suffering. They just actualize a specific desire at a specific moment, and then life continues in all its complicated messiness. Prismo has a boss. We mentioned this before, but it deserves deeper exploration because it reveals the cosmic hierarchy that constrains even wish granting. The boss is never fully explained, never fully shown, which makes the cosmic bureaucracy feel vast and strange. We know the boss exists because Prismo occasionally references checking with them or following their rules. This means even Prismo is not the final authority. Even the being at the center of time with power over reality must answer to someone. This is both hilarious and cosmically significant. Imagine being able to reshape timelines and grant any wish, but you still have to file reports with upper management. Imagine having infinite power within your domain, but knowing that your domain has limits, and someone above you enforces those limits. It is the ultimate mundane reality imposed on cosmic fantasy. Even at the level of reality-warping wish granters, nobody escapes middle management. But it also suggests something important about how Adventure Time's universe works. Power is structured. Authority has layers. Even beings who seem omnipotent operate within frameworks established by others. This prevents the universe from descending into chaos while also creating this delightfully absurd image of cosmic bureaucracy, complete with rules, regulations, and probably quarterly performance reviews. The boss's existence explains why Prismo's rules are what they are. He did not make them up. He did not decide that one wish per person per lifetime was the optimal system. He inherited these rules from whatever cosmic authority structure predates him, and he follows them because that is his job. That is his role in the grand machine of reality. This removes moral responsibility from Prismo for the consequences of wishes, while simultaneously making those consequences more interesting. When the Lich's wish nearly ends all life, that is not Prismo being evil or indifferent. That is Prismo following protocols established by powers beyond him, doing his job as written, being a cog in a machine so vast that even cosmic entities cannot see its full shape. And somehow this makes him more sympathetic. He is not a god playing with mortals. He is a worker following rules, trying to do his job well, hoping that people will understand he is doing his best within systems he did not create and cannot change. That is deeply relatable. That is every person who has ever followed company policy they disagreed with because they needed the job. Except the company is cosmic reality, and the job is wish-granting, and the stakes are literally everything. The rules also reveal Adventure Time's understanding of the difference between wants and needs. Most people who visit Prismo want something. They want power, revenge, transformation, salvation, or in Jake's case, a really good sandwich. But what they need is usually something else entirely. They need wisdom, growth, healing, connection, understanding. Prismo grants what they want because those are the rules. Reality then teaches them what they need, usually through the consequences of getting what they wanted. This is not cruelty. This is just how desire works. We spend our lives wanting things, believing those things will make us happy, complete, satisfied. Then we get them and discover that having them does not feel like we thought it would. The thing itself is fine. The sandwich is delicious. The power is real. The transformation happens, but it does not fill the void we thought it would fill. Because the void was never about the thing we wanted. It was about what we needed, which is usually something we have not articulated, or maybe cannot articulate. Prismo cannot grant what people need because people rarely wish for what they actually need. They wish for what they think they want in that moment. And Prismo, bound by his rules, grants exactly that. The education comes afterward, in living with the wish's consequences and understanding how desire, when fulfilled, reveals the deeper hungers beneath. Adventure Time explores this through multiple wish scenarios. The Lich wants extinction and gets Farmworld instead. Jake wants a sandwich and gets exactly that. A perfect sandwich that becomes a running joke about how sometimes the simple wish is the best wish. Finn wants to erase the Lich and gets an alternate timeline that haunts him with what could have been. Each wish reveals something about the wisher and about the nature of wanting itself. The system Prismo operates within is ancient, structured, and surprisingly fair. It does not privilege the powerful. It does not punish the weak. It treats everyone equally. One wish, clearly spoken, literally granted. The consequences are not Prismo's doing. They are reality's response to actualized desire. They are what happens when what you want meets the universe's complicated machinery of cause and effect. There is wisdom in this system, even if it is harsh wisdom. The limitation forces consideration. The clarity requirement forces articulation. The literal interpretation removes trickery but requires thoughtfulness. The one-per-lifetime rule makes the choice precious. Together, these rules create a framework where wish-granting is possible, but not casual, powerful, but not corrupting, available, but not easy. Prismo exists within this framework, enforcing it, embodying it, serving as its primary interface with reality. He did not choose these rules. He does not particularly enjoy watching wishes go sideways, but he follows them because that is what cosmic bureaucrats do, even when cosmic bureaucracy leads to sadness. even when following orders means granting wishes that will cause suffering, even when being fair according to the rules means being unable to help people the way he might personally want to help them. The rules of wishing matter because they transform fantasy into philosophy. They take the wish-granting scenario from children's tales and fairy stories and make it a meditation on choice, consequence, desire, and the gap between what we want and what we need. They reveal that power, even cosmic power, operates within constraints. They show that even reality-bending abilities must follow protocols. They demonstrate that freedom requires limits, and that unlimited wishes would be unlimited chaos. And they make Prismo's job simultaneously the most important and most impossible task in the universe. Grant any wish. Follow the rules. Watch as people's desires reshape reality. Witness the consequences. Remain neutral. Do not judge. Just grant what is wished for and let the universe teach whatever lessons it will. Sometimes the wish works out perfectly. Sometimes it creates disaster. Sometimes it's just a sandwich and the sandwich is good. And that simplicity is its own kind of wisdom. Prismo grants them all the same, because those are the rules. Because rules, even cosmic rules, exist for reasons that extend beyond any single moment. Because limitation creates meaning, and meaning is what separates wishes from chaos. One wish per person per lifetime. Make it count, or do not. Either way, Prismo will grant it, and reality will respond, and you will live with what happens next. That is how wishes work in the land of Ooh. Fair, honest, literal, and absolutely unforgiving of thoughtlessness. Just like reality itself, but faster. The Enchiridion opens, and the portal tears reality like wet paper. Jake and Finn tumble through dimensional space into the time room, expecting maybe a quick chat with Prismo about some heroic adventure stuff, and instead they find him already occupied, already granting a wish, already in the process of potentially ending everything that has ever mattered. The Lich stands before Prismo, not a metaphor, not a vision. The actual Lich, the cosmic embodiment of entropy and extinction, the thing that was there when life began just so it could watch life end, the creature whose sole purpose across countless eons has been the eradication of all living things. He is in the time room, he has reached the Wishmaster. And he knows exactly what he wants. I wish for the extinction of all life. 5 words that would unmake the universe. 5 words that Prismo, bound by his rules and his role, would have to honour. The Lich did not stumble into this moment. He did not arrive at the time room by accident or through blind luck. He planned this. He understood that somewhere at the centre of time there existed a being who could grant any wish, and he methodically worked toward reaching that being so he could speak those 5 words and watch reality comply with his desire. The brilliance of the Lich's wish is its simplicity. No complex phrasing, no elaborate requests, no conditions or specifications, just extinction. All life, gone. It is the purest expression of the Lich's nature. He's not interested in ruling the dead universe or reshaping reality to his preferences. He just wants living things to stop living. That is his entire motivation distilled into one wish, and that wish would have worked. Prismo's face shows what he rarely displays, genuine distress. He does not want to grant this wish. Every fibre of his being, if dream entities have fibres, rejects what he is about to do, but the rules are clear. The Lich has reached the time room. The Lich has not used his wish before. The Lich has stated his desire clearly. Prismo must grant it. That is his function. That is his curse. He has the power to reshape reality, but not the authority to refuse a properly made wish. Watch the scene carefully. Prismo is stalling. He is explaining the rules, going through the formalities, hoping that something, anything, will interrupt this process before he has to actually fulfill the Lich's request. He does not want to be the instrument of universal genocide. But he also cannot break the rules that define his existence. He is trapped between cosmic law and personal horror, and the law is winning. Then Finn acts, not with a sword, not with courage in the traditional heroic sense. Finn acts out of pure panicked desperation, screaming the first thing that his terrified teenage brain can produce that seems like it might stop what is about to happen. I wish the Lich never existed. Prismo's expression shifts. The rules shift. Finn spoke a wish clearly. Finn has not used his wish before. Prismo must grant this new wish, and granting this new wish means the Lich's wish cannot be granted because you cannot wish for something after you have ceased to exist. The logic is temporal and paradoxical, and exactly the kind of thing that happens when you try to use wish granting to rewrite causality, but it works. Finn's counter-wish interrupts the Lich's wish. The universe does not end, but it does break, because you cannot simply erase the Lich from existence without consequences that ripple through every timeline, every moment, every event that the Lich touched or influenced. The Lich has been part of reality since before the Mushroom War. The Lich is woven into the fabric of Oo's history. His presence, his actions, his very existence have shaped countless events. Remove him, and you do not just delete one entity. You reshape everything his existence affected. You create a new timeline. You split reality. Farmworld emerges from this act of desperate wish-making. An alternate timeline where Finn's wish came true, where the Lich as they know him never existed, but where the darkness that would become the Lich remained, dormant but not destroyed, waiting in different forms for different moments to manifest its ancient hunger for extinction. Let's walk through what Farmworld actually is, because understanding this alternate timeline is crucial to understanding why wishes, even well-intentioned wishes, can create suffering as easily as they prevent it. Farmworld is not a paradise where the Lich's absence made everything better. Farmworld is a nightmare born from the gap between intention and consequence. In Farmworld, the Mushroom War still happened. The bombs still fell. Civilization still collapsed. But at the critical moment when the bomb that would birth the Lich should have detonated fully, something different occurred. In the Prime timeline, that bomb exploded and created the Lich. In Farmworld, it did not. The mutagenic material remained contained. The Lich was never born. Finn's wish was granted literally and precisely, but the bomb did not disappear. It could not disappear because the bomb existed before it became the Lich, and you cannot retroactively erase something that already happened without creating a branching timeline. So in Farmworld, the bomb sits in the crater where it fell, dormant but deadly, waiting for over 1,000 years while reality reorganizes itself around the absence of the Lich's immediate presence. Simon Petrikov still found the crown. He still went mad. He still transformed into the Ice King. But in Farmworld, without the Lich as an active threat, without the specific chain of events that led to Ooh as we know it, Simon's madness took a different turn. He became more actively destructive, more openly tyrannical. The Ice King of Farmworld rules through fear, freezing entire kingdoms, turning this alternate Earth into an icy wasteland where humanity survives in scattered pockets, struggling against the cold and the crown's corruption. And Finn. Farmworld Finn is where this alternate timeline becomes emotionally devastating. In the Prime timeline, Finn is the last human, raised by dogs, trained as a hero, living adventures with his best friend Jake. In Farmworld, Finn is ordinary. He has a human family, a mum, a dad, even a baby brother. He lives on a farm. He has never been a hero because he never needed to be one. He grew up in relative peace, protected by his father Marty, living the kind of normal life that Prime Finn will never experience. Prime Finn looks at this alternate version of himself and sees everything he has been denied. A family, a father, a normal childhood. The kind of life where your biggest worry is farm chores, not cosmic threats to existence. There is a moment in these episodes where you can see Prime Finn processing this, understanding that his heroic life, as meaningful as it is, cost him something fundamental, cost him the family he will never have, cost him the father he will never know. But Farmworld Finn's peace is an illusion built on a dormant bomb, because the Lich's essence did not disappear when Finn wished him out of existence, it just found a different form. The bomb in the crater still contains mutagenic material, still radiates malevolent energy, still calls to those susceptible to its influence, and when the Ice King's crown breaks, when circumstances push Farmworld toward crisis, that bomb becomes active again. The tragedy multiplies. Finn's wish was meant to save everyone by preventing the Lich. Instead, it created a timeline where different people suffer in different ways, where Farmworld Finn loses his arm in a different context, a parallel to Prime Finn's eventual loss, but with none of the heroic meaning. Where the bomb eventually opens and the Lich emerges anyway, different in form but identical in purpose, proving that you cannot simply wish evil out of existence because evil, entropy, darkness, these are fundamental aspects of reality, not bugs that can be patched out. Adventure Time is making a profound philosophical argument here about the nature of evil and the limits of power. The Lich represents entropy, the eventual heat death of all things, the fundamental truth that everything living will eventually die, and everything complex will eventually decay. That is not a monster you can defeat by wishing it away. That is a cosmic principle. Wishing it gone does not eliminate the principle. It just reorganizes how the principle manifests. Finn wanted to save everyone. He acted from heroism and love and desperate hope. His wish was selfless and brave, and it created a timeline of suffering because the problem was not solvable through wish granting. The Lich exists as an embodiment of something that transcends individual existence. Kill one form, and it finds another. Prevent its birth, and the forces that would birth it remain, waiting for a different vector. This is Adventure Time at its most sophisticated. The show could have made Finn's counter-wish work perfectly. Could have created a timeline where everything is better, where the Lich's absence means paradise, where the heroes get a glimpse of how good things could have been if evil had never existed. That would have been simpler, easier, more traditionally satisfying. Instead, the show argues that evil, suffering, and entropy are woven into the fabric of reality so deeply that removing them is impossible. You can fight specific manifestations, you can protect people from specific threats, but you cannot wish away the fundamental darkness any more than you can wish away gravity or time. It exists. It will always exist. The heroism is not in eliminating it, but in choosing to stand against it anyway, knowing that the fight never truly ends. Prismo watches all of this happen. He grants Finn's wish because he must. He creates Farmworld because that is what Finn's wish requires. He does so knowing that this timeline will have its own suffering, its own struggles, its own version of the very darkness Finn was trying to prevent. Prismo has seen this pattern countless times. People wish for things. Reality bends. Consequences cascade. New problems emerge. The cycle continues. Does this make Prismo complicit in Farmworld's suffering? The show says no. Prismo is the instrument, not the architect. He grants wishes according to rules he did not make. The responsibility lies with the wisher, with the choice to use cosmic power without fully understanding its implications, with the gap between good intentions and actual outcomes. But Prismo feels it anyway. You can see it in how he interacts with Finn and Jake afterward. There is a sadness there, a recognition that he just created a timeline of suffering because a terrified teenager made a desperate wish. Prismo did not want this outcome. But the rules are the rules, and the rules do not care about emotional outcomes. They care about procedural correctness. Wish stated clearly. Wish granted literally. Consequences manifested. Protocol followed. Box checked. The multiverse itself changes after this moment. Before Finn's wish, Adventure Time existed in a single timeline with vague hints of alternate possibilities. After Finn's wish, the multiverse is explicit, real, and actively dangerous. Farmworld exists as a permanent alternate reality, not as a what-if scenario, but as an actual place with actual people, living actual lives, shaped by Finn's panicked decision. This opens up narrative possibilities that the show explores in later seasons. Characters can travel between timelines. Farmworld becomes a recurring location. The consequences of Finn's wish continue long after the initial episodes, rippling forward through the series like the temporal shockwave it is. Creating Farmworld was not a one-time event. It was a permanent alteration to the structure of reality, and that alteration has implications that echo through dozens of episodes. Jake handles this differently than Finn. Jake, being Jake, focuses less on the cosmic horror of creating alternate timelines and more on the practical reality that they stopped the Lich from ending all life. For Jake, Farmworld is an acceptable outcome. Not ideal, but better than extinction. He can live with the guilt of creating a timeline where different people suffer, because the alternative was everyone dying. That is pragmatic hero logic, and it fits Jake's character perfectly. Finn struggles more. Finn carries the weight of Farmworld like a stone. He knows that somewhere, in another timeline, there is a version of himself who has a father, a family, a normal life, and that version is also suffering because of a wish Finn made. That parallel life haunts him, the what-if of it, the closeness of it. One wish separated him from everything he has always wanted but can never have. The show explores this guilt across multiple episodes. Finn's relationship with his father becomes even more complicated when he knows that in another timeline he has the father he wants. His understanding of heroism deepens when he realizes that even heroic actions can have disastrous consequences. His entire worldview shifts from simple good versus evil towards something more nuanced, where good intentions are not enough and power without wisdom creates as many problems as it solves. Prismo becomes a different kind of character after this moment too. Before the Lich's wish attempt, Prismo was mostly comic relief, the cosmic bachelor with his pickles and his laid-back attitude. After Farm World, we understand him as someone who bears witness to the consequences of wishes, who watches people reshape reality based on momentary desires, who processes the cosmic paperwork of suffering caused by choices made in panic or ignorance or desperation. He does not judge. That is not his role. But he sees. He understands. He knows that Finn's wish came from love and fear, that the Lich's wish came from fundamental nature, that the collision between these two wishes created a branching timeline where people he will never meet will experience suffering he cannot prevent. And he lives with that knowledge, adding it to the infinite weight of all the other wishes he has granted and all the other consequences he has witnessed. The technical mechanics of how Farmworld works reveal Adventure Time's surprisingly sophisticated understanding of time travel and alternate timelines. Farmworld is not the past rewritten. It is a new branch growing from the moment of Finn's wish. The prime timeline continues unaffected. Finn and Jake return to their reality. The Lich in their timeline still existed, still caused all the damage he caused, still shaped events the way he shaped them. Nothing in their history changed, but now a parallel timeline exists where history went differently, where the Lich never existed in his familiar form, where different choices led to different outcomes, where the fundamental darkness manifested through different vectors. The multiverse model here is branching, not rewriting. Every major choice potentially creates a new branch. Finn's wish created one of the most significant branches in the series. This has implications for how we understand choice and consequence in Adventure Time's universe. If every major decision creates a new timeline, then in some sense all possibilities are realized. Somewhere, in some timeline, every choice you did not make was made. Every path you did not take was taken. The multiverse contains all versions of your life, all parallel yous living out the consequences of different decisions. That is either comforting or horrifying, depending on how you look at it. Comforting because it means your mistakes are not the only reality, because somewhere a version of you made better choices. Horrifying because it means infinite versions of you are making infinite mistakes, and all of them are real, and all of them are suffering the consequences of choices they maybe should not have made. Prismo exists at the intersection of all these timelines. He can see them on his screens. He can watch Prime Finn and Farmworld Finn simultaneously. He witnesses every version of reality branching and diverging and creating new possibilities. For him, the multiverse is not a theoretical concept. It is his daily view. It is what he observes on infinite screens while eating cosmic pickles and waiting for the next visitor to arrive with the next wish that will create the next timeline split. The Lich's wish and Finn's counter-wish represent the moment when Adventure Time stops being a simple adventure show and becomes something more ambitious, a show willing to explore the genuine consequences of power. A show willing to argue that even heroes make mistakes with cosmic ramifications. A show that understands that sometimes the right choice in the moment creates suffering down the line, and that reality is too complex for simple solutions. Farmworld exists because a terrified teenager tried to save everyone and accidentally created a new universe of pain. The road to alternate timelines is paved with good intentions, and Prismo, bound by his rules and his role, granted the wish that made it all possible, watching as another consequence cascaded through reality, adding it to his infinite collection of wishes granted and lives altered and timelines split. The Lich's wish failed. The universe did not end. Life continued, but the victory cost a universe. cost the creation of a timeline where different people struggle against different darkness, cost Finn his innocence about the simplicity of heroism, cost everyone the comfortable belief that cosmic power, when used for good, only creates good outcomes. Sometimes you save the world by breaking it. Sometimes heroism means living with the consequences of desperate choices. Sometimes the monster you tried to wish away just finds a different door to enter through. And sometimes, at the centre of time, a cosmic wish granter processes another wish, adds another timeline to his screens, and carries the weight of knowing that he helped create this, not through malice, but through the simple act of following the rules he exists to enforce. That is what the Lich's wish created, not extinction, something stranger, a multiverse of consequences, branching eternally from one moment of panic, one act of desperate heroism, one wish granted literally and completely, changing everything while saving nothing, creating suffering while preventing apocalypse. Welcome to Farm World. Population. Everyone. Finn's wish accidentally condemned to a different version of darkness. Prismo has the screens queued up if you want to watch. Jake the dog walks into the time room and wishes for a sandwich. Not immortality, not infinite wisdom, not the power to reshape reality, or undo past mistakes or save the world from existential threats. A sandwich. Specifically, as Jake describes it, the most perfect sandwich that could possibly exist, constructed with ingredients that complement each other in ways that transcend normal sandwich architecture, assembled with care and cosmic precision, existing as the platonic ideal of sandwichness made manifest in physical form. Prismo grants this wish. He does so without judgment, without condescension, without any suggestion that Jake has wasted his one cosmic wish on something as mundane as food. He just makes the sandwich appear, and it is, by all accounts that matter, absolutely perfect. Jake eats it. Jake enjoys it immensely. Jake's wish is fulfilled completely and without irony or hidden consequence. This is the most Jake thing that has ever happened in a show full of Jake things, but here is what makes this moment more significant than it initially appears. Jake's sandwich wish is the only completely successful, totally consequence-free wish we see in the entire series. The Lich's wish gets interrupted and creates Farm World. Finn's counter-wish splits the timeline. Other wishes we hear about go sideways in various ways. But Jake wishes for a sandwich, gets exactly the sandwich he wanted, and experiences nothing but satisfaction from the exchange. Why does Jake's wish work so perfectly when others fail? Because Jake wished for exactly what he wanted without any hidden agenda, without trying to solve cosmic problems, without attempting to reshape fundamental reality. He wanted a sandwich, a really good one. He got it. Mission accomplished. Sometimes the simplest wish is the wisest wish, and Jake accidentally achieved wish-making enlightenment through his complete lack of ambition beyond quality food. This establishes something crucial about Jake's character and his relationship with Prismo. Jake does not view the Wishmaster as a cosmic vending machine for solving problems or gaining power. Jake views Prismo as a guy who happens to be able to grant wishes, and yeah, Jake would like a sandwich if one is available, but more importantly, Prismo seems cool and maybe they could hang out sometime and watch movies together. That perspective transforms everything. Because Prismo, for all his cosmic power and his position at the centre of time, is desperately lonely. He exists in a space designed for visitors but rarely receives them. When people do visit, they want something from him. They want his power, his ability, his function. They see him as a means to an end, not as a person worth knowing for his own sake. Jake sees him differently. Jake sees him as Prismo, not the Wishmaster, not a cosmic resource. Just Prismo, a chill dude with good taste in movies and an impressive pickle collection, who happens to live in this weird time-space at the centre of everything. Jake treats him like a friend first and a wish granter second, and that simple reversal of priorities means more to Prismo than most wishes could ever achieve. Their friendship develops organically across multiple episodes. After the sandwich wish, Jake keeps visiting. He does not have another wish coming. He cannot get anything else from Prismo in terms of cosmic favours, but he shows up anyway because he genuinely likes spending time there. They watch movies together. They discuss film theory and debate which action sequences work better, and argue about character motivations in these cosmic direct-to-video movies that Prismo has collected from across all of time. Think about what this means for Prismo. He can watch every movie ever made simultaneously on his infinite screens. He has access to the complete filmography of reality. But he watches movies with Jake because watching movies alone, even when you have infinite options, is lonely. Sharing the experience matters more than the experience itself. Having someone to talk to about what you just watched transforms passive viewing into connection. Jake brings food sometimes. Not cosmic food. Not magical delicacies from across just regular food that he thought might taste good. Prismo, being a two-dimensional dream entity, probably does not need to eat in any conventional sense. But he appreciates the gesture. He appreciates that Jake thinks about him when Jake is not in the time room. He appreciates being treated like someone worth bringing snacks for. Their conversations range from silly to profound, which is very adventure time and very friendship in general. One moment they are debating whether clouds dream. The next moment they are discussing the nature of existence and what it means to be real when you are someone else's dream. Then they are back to joking about sandwiches and whether the pickle jar needs refilling. The tonal shifts feel natural because that is how friends talk. You do not maintain one register. You flow between topics as they occur to you, trusting that the other person will follow wherever the conversation leads. Prismo opens up to Jake in ways he probably does not open up to most visitors. He talks about the loneliness of existing at the centre of time. He mentions how weird it is to see all moments simultaneously, but be unable to participate in any of them. He discusses the sadness of granting wishes that he knows will go wrong, but being unable to warn people because that is not his role. Jake listens. Jake does not try to fix these problems, because they are not fixable. He just acknowledges that they suck and offers Prismo another pickle. That is what friends do. They witness each other's pain without trying to immediately solve it. They sit with you in the difficulty. They acknowledge that some problems do not have solutions, and some loneliness cannot be completely erased, but that does not mean you have to experience it alone. The cosmic owl joins them sometimes. Prismo's best friend, another cosmic entity who exists outside normal reality, appears as a giant owl whose presence in dreams marks them as prophetic. The three of them, Prismo, Jake, and the cosmic owl, form this unlikely friend group that spans the gap between cosmic and mundane, between infinite power and simple companionship. When the cosmic owl is there, the dynamic shifts slightly. Prismo has someone else who understands his existence, someone else who operates on his level of reality. But Jake remains part of the circle, because friendship is not about matching cosmic status. Friendship is about choosing to spend time together, and all three of them make that choice. The cosmic owl could be anywhere doing owl-cosmic things. Jake could be on adventures with Finn. Prismo could be watching his infinite screens alone. Instead, they hang out. They watch movies. They talk about nothing important and everything important simultaneously. These moments of casual friendship become some of the most emotionally resonant scenes in Adventure Time. Not because anything dramatic happens, but because the show takes time to demonstrate that cosmic beings need friends too. That power and position do not insulate you from loneliness. That sometimes the most meaningful thing you can do is just show up and be present with someone who needs company. Jake never treats his sandwich wish as a mistake or a waste. He does not express regret that he did not wish for something bigger or more consequential. When people ask him about it, he talks about how good that sandwich was, how it was exactly what he wanted, how sometimes the thing you want is just a really excellent sandwich, and there is wisdom in knowing that about yourself and not pretending you want something more cosmic. This is actually profound philosophical territory disguised as Jake being Jake. In a universe where you can have literally anything, choosing something simple and genuinely satisfying is not foolishness. It is clarity. Jake knew what would make him happy. He wished for it. He got it. He was happy. That is successful wish-making by any reasonable metric. Compare this to others who wish for grand things and end up with complicated consequences. Jake's simplicity succeeds where their ambition fails. The show is not saying ambition is wrong, but it is saying that knowing what you actually want, as opposed to what you think you should want, is rare wisdom. Jake has that wisdom. He just also happens to want sandwiches. But then everything changes. Then Prismo dies. The Lich, wearing Jake's body like a stolen coat, wakes up the old man. The dreamer awakens. Prismo, dependent on that unconscious dreaming for his existence, simply ceases. Not dies in the traditional sense, just stops being. The dream ends. The time room presumably persists because it exists outside time, but Prismo himself vanishes like morning mist when the sun rises. Jake is there when it happens. Not really Jake, because the Lich has possessed him, but Jake's body is the instrument of Prismo's death. When Jake regains control, when the Lich is finally defeated, Jake has to process that his body was used to kill his friend, that the Lich chose Jake specifically because Jake was someone Prismo trusted, someone who could get close enough to the dreamer to wake him up. The guilt is crushing. Jake did not choose this. He was possessed, controlled, used as a weapon against his will. But his friend is still gone. The time room is still empty. The being who granted him a perfect sandwich and watched movies with him, and treated him like a person worth knowing, has ceased to exist because the Lich hijacked Jake's body and used their friendship as a vulnerability to exploit. This is where Jake makes the most significant decision of his life. Not the most heroic in the traditional sense, not the most world-saving, but the most meaningful in terms of what it reveals about who Jake is and what he values. Jake decides to use his wish, his one wish per lifetime, the cosmic favour that Prismo granted him, the power to reshape reality that he could use for literally anything, to bring Prismo back. Think about what this means. Jake could wish for anything. He could wish for Finn to have parents. He could wish for Lady Rainicorn to live forever. He could wish for world peace, infinite bacon, the ability to stretch to Jupiter, anything his imagination can conceive. The scope of possibilities is literally infinite, and he uses it to resurrect a friend. Not because that friend can grant him more wishes. Prismo already granted Jake's wish, so bringing him back does not give Jake another one. Not because that friend has power Jake needs. Not for any practical, strategic, or personally beneficial reason. Jake wishes Prismo back to life simply because Prismo is his friend, and losing friends is unacceptable when you have the power to do something about it. This is the emotional core of Adventure Time in one decision. The show consistently argues that relationships matter more than power, that connection matters more than capability, that who you are to other people matters more than what you can do. Jake embodies this philosophy completely by sacrificing his cosmic wish for friendship. The mechanics of bringing Prismo back are complicated and involve time loops, and Jake becoming the dreamer himself temporarily, and Prismo's corporeal form doing cosmic CPR on his own existence. The details are very Adventure Time, weird, metaphysically confusing, somehow emotionally coherent despite making no logical sense. But the emotional truth is simple. Jake gave up everything he could have had to bring back someone he cares about. Prismo returns, not unchanged. Death and resurrection leave marks even on cosmic entities, but alive, or as alive as a dream can be, existing again, conscious again, present again. And the first thing he does is thank Jake. Not effusively, not dramatically. Just a sincere acknowledgement that Jake used his wish for this, that Jake sacrificed cosmic power for friendship, that Jake chose Prismo over literally everything else he could have chosen. The weight of that choice hangs over every interaction they have afterward. Prismo knows what Jake gave up. Jake knows that Prismo knows. Neither of them makes a big deal out of it because that is not how their friendship works. But it is there. It is understood. It is the foundation of something deeper than casual movie-watching friendship. It is the kind of bond forged when someone proves through action, not words, that you matter to them more than infinite possibility. Does this make Jake's sandwich wish retroactively meaningful? In a way, yes. Because Jake wished for a sandwich when he could have wished for anything, which established that Jake is not the kind of person who treats cosmic power as a tool for personal gain or problem-solving. He's the kind of person who wishes for what he actually wants, enjoys it fully, and moves on without regret. That character trait is exactly what allows him to later use his wish for resurrection, without hesitation. Someone more ambitious might have saved their wish, waiting for the perfect moment to use it for maximum benefit. Someone more cautious might have hoarded it, afraid to waste it. Jake used his wish immediately for a sandwich, lived without regret, and when the moment came that truly mattered, he did not have a wish available but found another way, Finn's wish, to accomplish what needed accomplishing. Then, when circumstances gave him another opportunity, he used it without hesitation for friendship. The show trusts us to see the thematic connection. Jake's relationship with wishes, with power, with cosmic opportunity, is fundamentally different from most people's. He is not impressed by power. He is not seduced by possibility. He wants what he wants in the moment, and in most moments what he wants is simple: good food, good company, good times with people he cares about. When cosmic power intersects with those wants, he uses it. When it does not, he ignores it. This makes Jake's wish to resurrect Prismo even more significant, because for Jake to use cosmic power, something has to matter to him personally and immediately. Prismo's death matters. Their friendship matters. The injustice of losing someone to the Lich's cruelty matters. So Jake acts. No hesitation. No debate about whether this is the optimal use of a wish. Just action based on what matters to him. Adventure Time argues through Jake that this is wisdom, not the conventional wisdom of strategic thinking and long-term planning, but the wisdom of knowing your values and acting on them without second-guessing yourself. Jake values friendship. When friendship is threatened, he uses every resource available to protect it. That is his entire ethical framework, and it is surprisingly coherent. Prismo's resurrection changes him subtly. He is more aware of his fragility now. He has experienced non-existence and come back from it. He knows that his entire reality depends on an old man continuing to sleep, and he knows that the old man can be woken, that enemies can exploit that vulnerability, that death, or its equivalent, is always one rude awakening away. This knowledge sits with him, colours his interactions, makes his loneliness slightly sadder because now he knows it could end permanently at any moment. But he also has the memory of Jake's choice, the knowledge that someone valued him enough to sacrifice cosmic power for his return. That has to help. That has to make the isolation more bearable, because even if most visitors just want wishes, even if most people see him as a means to an end, Jake saw him as a friend worth saving. That proves something important, that validates his existence in a way that granting infinite wishes never could. Their friendship continues after the resurrection. More movie nights, more casual conversations, more pickles shared while discussing whether that cloud formation looks like it is dreaming of being an elephant. The dynamic has changed subtly. There is more depth now, more unspoken understanding, but the fundamental nature remains the same. They are friends. They hang out. They value each other's company. The cosmic stakes and the sacrifice and the death and resurrection all matter, but they do not overwhelm the simple truth that these two beings enjoy spending time together. This is what makes Jake's arc with Prismo so satisfying narratively. It starts with a joke. Jake wishes for a sandwich. It develops into genuine friendship through repeated visits and shared experiences. It reaches emotional climax when Jake sacrifices his wish to save Prismo. And it resolves into a deeper, more meaningful friendship that acknowledges what they have been through together, while maintaining the casual, comfortable dynamic that made them friends in the first place. The show never makes Jake regret his sandwich wish. It never frames that choice as foolish or wasteful. Instead, it demonstrates that the sandwich wish was perfect for who Jake was at that moment, and the resurrection wish was perfect for who Jake had become through his friendship with Prismo. Both wishes were exactly right for exactly when they happened. That is character development without requiring the character to reject their past self. Jake remains Jake throughout. He does not become more serious or more strategic or more conventionally wise. He just becomes a Jake who has experienced loss and chosen to act against it. A Jake who understands that friendship sometimes requires sacrifice. A Jake who knows that cosmic power is best used for the people you care about, not for abstract goals or personal gain. He is still the dog who would wish for a sandwich. He is just also the dog who would wish his friend back to life. And Prismo remains Prismo. Still watching his screens, still keeping pickles, still hoping for visitors who will stay and hang out. But now when he sees Jake on those screens, he knows. He knows that somewhere in the infinite possibilities of the multiverse, in the countless timelines and alternate realities, there exists at least one definitive proof that he matters, that he is valued, that he is loved. One wish per person per lifetime. Jake used his for a sandwich. Then he used Finn's wish, through complicated temporal mechanics and plot circumstances, to bring Prismo back. Both wishes perfectly encapsulate who Jake is, someone who wants good things in the moment and will move mountains when those good things include his friends. The price of Sandwich Paradise was nothing. Jake got exactly what he wanted and lost nothing in the exchange. The price of Prismo's resurrection was everything. All the other possible wishes Jake could have made, all the cosmic potential traded for one specific outcome. And Jake paid it without hesitation because some things matter more than possibility. Some things matter more than power. Friendship matters more. The show says this clearly through Jake's choices. When you can have anything, choosing to have your friend back is not a waste. It is the only choice that makes sense. It is wisdom distilled into action. It is love made manifest through sacrifice. And it started with a sandwich. The best sandwich Jake ever tasted. Perfect in every way. Worth the wish. Worth the cosmic power. Worth the one-time only magic that most people save for solving world-changing problems. Jake used his for lunch, and it was exactly right. Then he used it for resurrection, and that was exactly right too. That is the Jake way. That is friendship. That is what happens when someone at the center of time finds a friend who values him more than cosmic power. The screens keep showing infinite possibilities. The pickles stay fresh, the movies keep playing, and sometimes, when Jake visits, Prismo remembers that he died and came back because someone cared enough to make it happen. That is worth more than any wish. That is the real magic. That is what makes the time room, for all its isolation and cosmic weirdness, occasionally feel like home, because home is where your friends bring you back from non-existence just because they miss hanging out with you. The cosmic owl is enormous, not in the way that regular owls are larger than mice or how great horned owls are bigger than screech owls. Enormous in the way that suggests physical size is a property he chose rather than something he was born with. He exists as a giant owl with pink plumage and penetrating eyes that see through dreams and into the threads of fate itself. Because when you are a cosmic entity that judges prophetic dreams, you might as well commit to the aesthetic. He is Prismo's best friend. Not just his friend, his best friend. This matters because Prismo, despite existing at the center of time with access to all moments simultaneously, despite being able to grant any wish and reshape reality, despite having infinite screens showing every event that has ever occurred or will occur, feels lonely most of the time. Having a best friend when you exist in that kind of isolation is not just nice. It is essential. It is what keeps you tethered to something resembling sanity when your daily experience includes witnessing every tragedy and triumph simultaneously for eternity. The cosmic owl appears in dreams. Specifically, he appears in dreams that matter. Not every dream. Most dreams are just your brain processing the day's experiences, working through anxieties, randomly firing neurons creating surreal narratives about showing up to school naked or having teeth fall out. The cosmic owl does not care about those dreams. He only appears in prophetic dreams, dreams that show the future, or possible futures, or futures that will definitely happen unless something changes. When you see the cosmic owl in your dream, you're not just sleeping. You're receiving a message from the universe itself about what is coming. This is a terrifying power and a strange job description. Imagine being the cosmic entity whose entire purpose is to show up in people's dreams and mark them as significant. You do not control the dreams. You do not send the visions. You just appear as a witness, a marker, a cosmic stamp of authenticity that says, yes, this dream matters, pay attention, the universe is trying to tell you something. The cosmic owl does not speak in most of his appearances. He just hoots, just looks at the dreamer with those penetrating eyes that somehow communicate volumes without words. His presence alone transforms a regular dream into prophecy. That is power, but it is also the loneliest job imaginable. You exist to witness other people's significant moments while remaining fundamentally separate from them. You observe their futures without participating. You mark their dreams without being part of their waking lives. Except with Prismo. With Prismo, the cosmic owl gets to just be a friend. They watch movies together. They discuss existence. They share the particular kind of companionship that only cosmic entities can share, because only cosmic entities understand what it is like to exist outside normal reality, to have roles and functions rather than lives, to be part of the universe's machinery rather than its inhabitants. Their friendship is touching in that specifically Adventure Time way, where cosmic beings act like regular people dealing with regular friendship stuff. They have inside jokes. They debate which movies are better. They probably argue about where to order takeout from, if cosmic entities eat takeout, which they might because this show treats powerful beings as people first and cosmic forces second. The cosmic owl sitting in Prismo's time room, watching a movie on one of the infinite screens, casually hooting commentary while Prismo offers him pickles. That is, friendship transcending the boundaries of existence itself. What makes their friendship particularly poignant is that they are both fundamentally alone in their respective roles. Prismo grants wishes at the centre of time. The cosmic owl judges prophetic dreams throughout reality. Neither of them has colleagues in the traditional sense, neither has family. Neither has a community of similar beings they can relate to. They have their functions, their purposes, their cosmic job descriptions, and they have each other. When Prismo dies, when the Lich wakes the dreamer and Prismo ceases to exist, the cosmic owl presumably experiences grief. The show does not focus on this because the narrative follows Finn and Jake, but the implications are there. The cosmic owl's best friend just stopped existing. The being he could talk to about the isolation of cosmic power, the person who understood what it meant to exist outside normal time and space, the friend who shared his infinite time with him, just vanished. That is loss on a scale that would shatter most beings. Yet when Prismo returns, the cosmic owl is there, supporting the resurrection, helping Jake navigate the complicated temporal mechanics required to bring a dream back to life, being present for his friend in the way friends are present during crisis. The show treats this casually because that is how the show treats everything, but the emotional weight is profound. The cosmic owl could have been anywhere. He could have been judging prophetic dreams or doing whatever cosmic owls do when they are not marking fate. Instead, he was helping resurrect his friend because that is what you do when you are someone's best friend. Adventure Time builds a mythology where even beings with godlike power have friendships that matter more than their cosmic responsibilities, where the cosmic owl, who judges which dreams show the future, cares more about his friend than about maintaining absolute neutrality. Where cosmic hierarchy and cosmic bureaucracy exist, but so does genuine affection between beings who should theoretically be too powerful, or too busy, or too cosmically important to bother with something as mundane as friendship. And then there is the boss, the mysterious entity above Prismo in the cosmic hierarchy, the being that Prismo occasionally references when explaining why he cannot do certain things or why particular rules exist. The boss is never fully shown, never fully explained, which makes them simultaneously hilarious and terrifying as a concept. Because the implication is that even reality-bending wish granters have middle management. Even at the level of cosmic power, someone has a boss. Nobody escapes the chain of command, not even when the chain extends beyond conventional space and time. What kind of being is the boss? What level of power do you need to be Prismo's superior? Prismo can grant any wish, reshape timelines, access all moments of time simultaneously. He exists at the center of everything with the ability to make the impossible happen. And somewhere above him in the cosmic org chart sits the boss, presumably with even greater power, or at least greater authority to set the rules Prismo must follow. The show wisely never shows us the boss directly. Mystery serves the story better than explanation. We know the boss exists because Prismo mentions checking with them, or following their protocols. We know the boss has authority because Prismo, despite his power, defers to their decisions. We know the cosmic hierarchy extends beyond Prismo because he is not the top, just very high up in a structure whose full scope remains deliberately vague. This creates a sense of the universe being vast beyond comprehension. We see Prismo, who already exists at a level of power and awareness that should be functionally infinite, and above him is the boss. And possibly above the boss are other entities we never meet. The cosmic chain of command extends into mystery, suggesting layers of reality and authority that the show acknowledges without fully exploring. That restraint makes the universe feel bigger, more strange, more full of possibilities that extend beyond what any single show could capture. But it also creates something hilariously mundane. Cosmic bureaucracy. Prismo has to follow rules he did not make. He has to check with his boss before doing certain things. He presumably files reports or maintains records or adheres to protocols established by entities he has never seen. He has a job, and jobs come with requirements, and even when your job is grant wishes at the center of time, you still have to deal with management. This is Adventure Time understanding that power alone does not make someone interesting. What makes characters interesting is limitation, conflict, and the gap between what they can do and what they are allowed to do. Prismo could theoretically grant multiple wishes to the same person. He could refuse to grant wishes that would cause suffering. He could warn people about the consequences of poorly thought-out wishes. But he does not, because the rules, established by the boss and enforced through cosmic bureaucracy, prevent him from doing these things. The hierarchy of dreams, then, is not just about power levels. It is about role, function, and the structures that govern even cosmic entities. The Cosmic Owl judges prophetic dreams. Prismo grants wishes. The boss oversees both, presumably along with countless other cosmic functions we never see. Death is another entity who exists in this hierarchy, showing up occasionally to do her job of conducting souls to the afterlife. The universe has departments, has divisions of labour, has a structure that ensures reality keeps functioning even when individual beings die, disappear, or fail to fulfill their responsibilities. What makes Adventure Time's approach unique compared to other fictional cosmologies is how the show treats these cosmic beings as people first. Most fantasy or science fiction creates hierarchies of gods or cosmic entities that operate on such different levels from mortals that they feel alien, incomprehensible, fundamentally other. Adventure Time creates cosmic beings who have jobs they find boring sometimes, friendships they value, hobbies they pursue, and personalities that feel recognizable even when their existence is impossible. The Cosmic Owl is not just the judge of prophetic dreams. He is Prismo's best friend who likes hanging out and watching movies. Prismo is not just the Wishmaster. He is a lonely person trapped in cosmic middle management who makes pickles and hopes for company. Death is not just the end of life. She is someone with her own agenda and personality who kisses Jake once and makes it weird. The boss is not just authority incarnate. They are someone's boss, which implies meetings and protocols and probably cosmic TPS reports. This makes the mythology feel lived in rather than constructed. These are not beings who exist solely to give heroes quests or represent abstract concepts. They are people, weird, powerful, cosmic people, but people nonetheless, who have lives that continue whether or not the protagonists are around. They have relationships with each other that matter more to them than their relationships with mortals. They have concerns, frustrations, joys, and sorrows that exist independent of the plot. The friendship between Prismo and the Cosmic Owl exemplifies this. Their connection is not about advancing the narrative or serving the hero's journey, it is just friendship. Two cosmic beings who found each other in the vast loneliness of existing outside normal reality and decided to hang out sometimes. They support each other, they enjoy each other's company, they matter to each other in ways that have nothing to do with their cosmic functions. When the show needs prophetic dreams to advance the plot, the Cosmic Owl appears and marks them as significant. When the show needs wish-granting to create conflict or resolution, Prismo grants wishes. But when the show wants to demonstrate that power does not insulate you from loneliness, that cosmic beings need friends too, that even entities who judge fate and grant wishes are still people who value connection, that is when we see Prismo and the Cosmic Owl just hanging out, being friends, existing together in the time room while infinite screens show infinite moments, and neither of them feels quite so isolated. The hierarchy also suggests that Adventure Time's universe operates on rules that nobody fully understands, including the beings who enforce them. Prismo follows protocols established by the boss, but does he understand why those protocols exist? Does the boss understand the reasoning behind the rules they enforce, or are they following directives from even higher cosmic authorities? Does anyone actually know why reality works the way it does, or is everyone just following procedures passed down through cosmic bureaucracy, so ancient that original justifications have been lost to time? This creates a universe that feels more real because it mirrors how actual systems work. Nobody knows why we do things a certain way at work. We just know that is how it has always been done, and changing it would require approval from people 3 levels above us, who also probably do not know the original reasoning. Cosmic reality operates the same way. Prismo grants 1 wish per person per lifetime, because those are the rules. Why? Because the boss says so. Why does the boss say so? Presumably because someone above them established it. Why did they establish it? Nobody knows anymore. That is just how wish-granting works. The bureaucracy also creates possibility for malfunction, for loopholes, for the kind of cosmic rule-breaking that drives later plot developments. If reality operates on rules, those rules can be bent or exploited. If Prismo has a boss, that boss can potentially be deceived or circumvented. If the hierarchy has structure, that structure has weaknesses. The show uses this to create tension. Can Jake resurrect Prismo through a time loop that technically does not violate the rules, but definitely violates their spirit? Yes, because bureaucracy is vulnerable to creative interpretation, even cosmic bureaucracy. What elevates this from mere world-building into something emotionally resonant is how the show never loses sight of the personal stakes. The Cosmic Owl does not judge prophetic dreams because he loves his job. He does it because that is his function. Prismo does not grant wishes because he finds fulfillment in it. He does it because that is what he exists to do. They have roles forced upon them by cosmic hierarchy, and they fulfill those roles, but what gives their existence meaning is not their function. It is their friendship. It is the time they spend together when they are not being the Cosmic Owl and the Wishmaster, but just themselves, just two beings who found companionship in the vast loneliness of cosmic existence. Adventure Time consistently argues that who you are to other people matters more than what you can do or what role you fulfill. The show applies this philosophy to cosmic beings as readily as it applies to Finn and Jake. Power level does not matter. Cosmic importance does not matter. What matters is whether you have someone who sees you as a person, who values spending time with you, who would help you if you needed it, who considers you a friend. Prismo has that in the Cosmic Owl. The Cosmic Owl has that in Prismo. And later, both of them have that in Jake, because Jake treats cosmic beings like people and values friendship more than power. That triangle of connection, Prismo, the Cosmic Owl, and Jake, becomes this beautiful demonstration of how friendship works across wildly different levels of existence and ability. The Cosmic Owl could judge Jake's dreams as prophetic or not. Prismo could grant or deny Jake's wishes. Jake could treat both of them as cosmic resources to exploit. Instead, they hang out. They watch movies. They share food. They talk about stupid stuff and important stuff, and the stupid important stuff that occupies most of friendship. They are friends because they chose to be friends, not because cosmic hierarchy demanded it, or because it serves some greater purpose. That choice transforms the time room from a place of lonely cosmic power into something else, a place where friendship happens, a place where beings who should be too different to relate find common ground, a place where the Cosmic Owl can stop being the judge of prophetic dreams, and Prismo can stop being the Wishmaster, and Jake can stop being the hero, and they can all just be people, weird, powerful, magical people, spending time together because that is what friends do. The boss probably does not care about this. The boss likely has no opinion on whether Prismo has friends or how he spends his time between wishes. The cosmic bureaucracy almost certainly does not have a protocol for movie night with the Cosmic Owl and a talking dog. These things happen in the gaps between official function, in the spaces where beings create meaning independent of their assigned roles. And those spaces matter. Those spaces are where life happens, even for beings who exist outside conventional life. Those spaces are where the Cosmic Owl and Prismo prove that cosmic power does not preclude friendship, that hierarchy does not eliminate genuine connection, that even when you are the being who judges fate or grants wishes, you still need someone to watch movies with on a lonely evening at the center of time. The hierarchy of dreams extends upward into mystery. The boss exists above Prismo. Other entities presumably exist above the boss. The cosmic chain of command reaches towards something incomprehensible, something vast, something that makes even Prismo's power look small by comparison. But at the level we see, at the level where the story happens, the hierarchy matters less than the friendships that transcend it. Because the Cosmic Owl can judge all the prophetic dreams in existence, but what he really values is having a friend who understands what it means to exist outside normal reality. Because Prismo can grant any wish imaginable, but what he really needs is someone to share pickles with while the infinite screens play infinite moments. Because power is impressive, but friendship is essential. That is what Adventure Time understands about cosmic mythology. You can build hierarchies as complex as you want. You can create beings with godlike abilities. You can establish bureaucratic structures that govern reality itself. But none of that matters emotionally unless you remember that even cosmic entities are people. Even beings who judge fate get lonely. Even the Wishmaster needs a best friend. The cosmic owl hoots his agreement. Prismo offers him a pickle. Somewhere in the vast cosmic hierarchy, the boss probably has paperwork to review. But in the time room, for this moment, 3 friends share space and time and company. That is the real magic. That is what makes the hierarchy of dreams feel less like cold cosmic structure, and more like a universe where even immortal beings find connection. Because at the end of infinite everything, friendship is what matters. The cosmic owl knows it, Prismo knows it, Jake knows it, and the infinite screens showing all moments of time keep playing, but sometimes what matters most is not what those screens show, but who you are watching them with. The Lich does not kill with weapons, he kills with understanding, with knowledge of vulnerabilities that run deeper than flesh, deeper than magic, deeper than anything a sword could reach. He understands that Prismo, for all his cosmic power, depends on something as fragile as sleep. One old man dreaming. That is the foundation of the Wishmaster's entire existence. Wake the dreamer, and you do not just kill Prismo, you erase him, you end the dream, and with it, the dreamer's creation simply ceases. But the Lich cannot reach the dreamer directly. The old man exists in some protected space, some mundane corner of reality, where ancient cosmic forces cannot simply walk in and shake someone awake. The Lich needs a vector. He needs someone Prismo trusts, someone who can access the dreamer without triggering defenses or raising suspicions, someone whose presence in the time room feels natural, welcome, safe. He needs Jake. The possession happens off-screen, which makes it more horrifying. We do not see the moment when the Lich's essence invades Jake's body, overwriting his consciousness, turning the friendly magical dog into a vehicle for extinction. We just know it happened. We see Jake's body moving with wrong purpose, speaking with wrong voice, existing as a stolen thing piloted by the universe's oldest evil. Jake inside his own body, consciousness pushed down but still aware, screaming without sound while the Lich uses his hands, his voice, his trusted face to approach Prismo. Imagine that violation. Imagine being trapped inside yourself while something else controls you, forces you to betray your friend, makes you the instrument of murder while you can only watch and scream internally and change nothing. Prismo does not see it coming. Why would he? Jake visits all the time. Jake is his friend. When Jake's body walks into the time room, Prismo probably smiles that 2-dimensional smile and asks what movie they should watch tonight. Maybe offers pickles. Maybe starts telling a story about something he saw on the screens. He treats Jake's arrival as the normal, welcome thing it usually is. He does not notice that Jake's eyes are wrong, that the Lich is wearing his friend like a costume, that death has entered his home dressed in trusted skin. The Lich, using Jake's body, accesses the dreamer. The show keeps this mechanically vague, which is smart because the horror is conceptual rather than visual. The Lich finds where the old man sleeps and wakes him up. Simple as that. A hand on a shoulder, a voice saying, "Wake up." The most mundane action imaginable, and it ends a cosmic being's existence. The old man wakes, confused, disoriented, not understanding what just happened or why someone woke him, not knowing that his dream was a person, not comprehending that opening his eyes just erased someone from reality. He sits up in bed, rubs his eyes, asks what is going on. Just an old man woken from sleep, annoyed at the interruption, completely unaware that he dreamed the Wishmaster into being and just now dreamed him out of existence. In the time room, Prismo ceases, not dies. Death implies a body, a process, remains. Prismo just stops being. The dream ends. The 2-dimensional pink and yellow figure that existed at the centre of time, that granted wishes and watched infinite screens and kept pickles and valued friendship, simply is not there anymore. The time room persists. The screens keep playing. The pickle jar remains. But Prismo is gone like he was never there, like he was just a dream that ended when the dreamer woke. Except he was there. He existed. He had friends. He had personality. He had hopes and fears and loneliness and joy. He was real in every way that matters. And now he is not, because an old man opened his eyes. The existential horror of this is profound. Prismo's entire existence depended on continued unconsciousness happening elsewhere. He knew this. He lived with this knowledge every moment of his infinite existence. He knew that somewhere an old man slept, and when that sleeping ended, so would he. The sword of Damocles hung over him not as a sword, but as the possibility of someone deciding to wake up, and he could do nothing to prevent it. Could not protect the dreamer because he could not leave the time room, could not ensure his own survival because survival was not in his control, could not even warn the dreamer that his dreams have consequences because the dreamer does not know he is creating anyone when he sleeps. The fragility was absolute. The vulnerability was total. The Lich exploited that vulnerability with surgical precision. He understood the metaphysics. He researched the weakness. He found the vector through Jake and executed the plan perfectly. The Lich does not get emotional victories. He gets efficient ones. He identifies the weak point and strikes it, and Prismo's weak point was that he depended on someone else's sleep to exist. Jake breaks free from the Lich's possession eventually. The specifics involve thin and complicated plot mechanics, but eventually Jake regains control of his own body. He returns to himself. His consciousness resurfaces, and he has to process what just happened. His body was used to kill his friend. The Lich wore him like a suit and murdered someone Jake cared about, and Jake could not stop it. The guilt would destroy most people. Jake is not most people. He is resilient and philosophical and generally able to process trauma in surprisingly healthy ways, but this is different. This is not something that happened to him. This is something done with him, through him, using him as the weapon. His friend is dead because the Lich hijacked his body and used their friendship as the vulnerability to exploit. Prismo trusted Jake. Welcomed Jake into the time room. Saw Jake as someone safe, someone good, someone who valued him as a person, and that trust was the weapon the Lich used to end him. If Prismo had been more paranoid, more suspicious, more willing to treat everyone as potential threats, he might have survived. But being open to friendship was part of who Prismo was. He chose connection over safety, and that choice created the vulnerability that killed him. Adventure Time does not let this horror sit lightly. The show acknowledges the weight of Prismo's death, the violation of Jake's body being used to commit it, the cosmic injustice of a being ending because someone woke from sleep. The tone shifts. The usual playfulness recedes. Characters grieve. The narrative treats this as the tragedy it is. But then we meet the old man properly, and the tragedy gains new dimensions. He is confused, scared. He does not understand where he is or why these people are there. He does not remember his dreams as anything significant. Just dreams. Random dream stuff. Nothing that seemed important or real. Certainly not a person. Definitely not a cosmic entity with friends and feelings and existence that mattered. The old man is not a villain. He's not even particularly interesting. He's just old, tired, maybe a little senile, completely ordinary in every way except that when he sleeps, he dreams Prismo into being. This makes the tragedy more absurd and more painful. Prismo's existence depended on this unimpressive person continuing to sleep. This person who does not know Prismo exists, who would not understand if you explained it to him, who probably could not comprehend that his sleeping mind generates a cosmic wish granter. What responsibility does the dreamer have to his dream? Philosophy has debated this question in various forms for millennia. If I dream a person, am I responsible for that person's well-being? If that dream person has thoughts and feelings and relationships, do they have rights? Does my choice to wake up constitute murder if my waking ends their existence? Adventure Time asks these questions through Prismo's death, and provides no easy answers because there are none. The old man did not choose to create Prismo, did not know he was creating anyone, cannot control what he dreams, cannot even remember his dreams clearly when he wakes. He is innocent of any intentional wrongdoing. Yet his action, the simple act of waking up, ended a life, or at least ended an existence that felt like a life to everyone who knew it. Does ignorance absolve responsibility? If you accidentally kill someone, even without knowing they existed, are you a murderer? The law has answers, but ethics struggles with this kind of situation. The old man woke up. Prismo ceased to exist. The causal relationship is direct, but intent was absent. Knowledge was absent. The old man was just sleeping, then waking, then confused about why people were bothering him. Prismo knew this was possible, knew the dreamer could wake, knew that waking would end him. And he lived anyway, or existed anyway. He chose, if choice is the right word for continuing to exist when existence is not really under your control, to be Prismo despite the fragility. He made friends despite knowing those friendships would end when the dreamer woke. He valued connection despite its inevitable termination. That is courage on a level most heroes never consider. Not the courage to fight enemies or face danger. The courage to exist when existence is contingent. The courage to care about things when you know those things will lose you eventually because you will cease. The courage to be a person when personhood depends on someone else's unconsciousness continuing indefinitely. Most beings do not have to think about this because existence, once achieved, persists through its own momentum. You exist. You continue existing. You will eventually stop existing through death. But that is future problem. Prismo exists. Prismo continues existing. Prismo could stop existing at literally any moment if someone in another dimension decides to wake up. That is present anxiety. That is every moment vulnerability. And he dealt with it by decorating his time room like a place where friends could hang out. By keeping pickles fresh just in case someone visited. By watching movies and making jokes and treating his cosmic prison like a home he hoped people would visit. By choosing connection over the safety of isolation, even though connection made the isolation more painful and the eventual loss more devastating. The show lets us sit with this sadness, lets the loss register. Prismo is gone. His screens keep playing, but no one is watching them. His pickles sit in the jar, but no one is eating them. The time room exists, but feels empty now, hollow, a space designed for presence that contains only absence. The cosmic owl presumably grieves in whatever way cosmic owls grieve. Jake carries guilt like a stone. Finn processes the injustice of a good person ceasing to exist because evil exploited the rules. But Adventure Time is not done with Prismo yet. Because if being dreamed into existence by an old man is possible, then maybe other impossible things are possible too. Maybe death, or its equivalent, is not the end for a being whose existence was already metaphysically questionable. Maybe when you exist as a dream, waking is not final. Maybe the gap between existence and non-existence is permeable in ways normal death is not. This opens the door for resurrection, but resurrection is the next section's territory. For now, we sit with death, with loss, with the horror of depending on another's sleep for your existence. With the violation of Jake's body being used as a murder weapon, with the guilt and grief and cosmic injustice of the Lich destroying something beautiful just because he could. Prismo's death also raises questions about the nature of reality in Adventure Time's universe. If the Wishmaster can cease to exist because someone woke up, what does that say about the stability of reality itself? How many other aspects of existence depend on precarious circumstances continuing? How fragile is the universe when beings with cosmic power can be erased through mundane actions like waking from sleep? The show suggests that reality is much less stable than we pretend. That existence operates on rules we do not fully understand, dependent on circumstances we cannot control, vulnerable to disruptions we cannot predict. Prismo was just the most obvious example. His fragility was explicit. We knew he depended on the dreamer. But what about everything else? What invisible dependencies keep reality functioning? What equivalent of waking the dreamer could end other cosmic functions we take for granted? This is cosmic horror without the tentacles, the horror of realizing that the universe operates on stranger, more precarious principles than we imagine, that beings we thought were permanent can cease, that power does not equal security, that existing at the center of time with the ability to grant any wish does not protect you from the simple act of someone opening their eyes somewhere else. The Lich understood this. The Lich, as the embodiment of entropy and the end of all things, has intimate knowledge of how fragile existence is. He knows where the cracks are. He knows how to exploit them. He does not fight fair because fairness is a concept that only matters to beings who fear death. The Lich is death, or at least death's loudest advocate, and he wins by finding the weaknesses in existence itself and pressing on them until they break. Prismo was a weakness, not in himself, Prismo was powerful and competent and good at his job. But his dependence on the dreamer was a structural vulnerability in reality's architecture, and the Lich found it and exploited it and ended a being who had existed for presumably millions of years just by waking someone up. That efficiency is terrifying. The Lich did not need to fight Prismo, did not need to match his power, did not need to overcome his abilities or defeat him in combat, just needed to wake up an old man. That is how extinction thinks. Find the weak point, strike it, watch everything collapse. Jake processing this guilt is one of Adventure Time's quieter, more devastating character moments. Jake is usually the optimistic one, the one who takes things in stride, the one who can find humour in dark situations and lightness in heavy moments. But this breaks through his usual defences. His body was used. His friendship was weaponized. Someone he cared about ceased to exist because the Lich wore him like a puppet. He cannot joke this away, cannot stretch out of it or philosophize it into something manageable. The guilt sits with him, heavy and persistent, changing how he thinks about friendship and trust and the ways connection creates vulnerability. Because if being Prismo's friend made Prismo vulnerable to the Lich, if trust was the weapon used against them, what does that mean about friendship itself? Should Prismo have been more paranoid? Should he have trusted less? Should he have isolated himself more completely? No. The show answers this firmly through what comes next. But even in the moment of grief, the answer is no. Prismo's openness to friendship was not a weakness. It was what made his existence meaningful. Being willing to trust Jake, to welcome him into the time room, to value connection despite the risks, that was not Prismo's failure. That was his humanity, or whatever the equivalent is for two-dimensional wish-granting dreams. The Lich exploited that humanity, used it as a weapon, turned something beautiful into the vector for murder, but that does not make the original choice wrong. That makes the Lich evil. The blame sits with the exploiter, not with the person who chose to be open to connection. Adventure Time consistently argues this position. The show refuses to punish characters for being vulnerable, for trusting, for caring about others. When that vulnerability gets exploited, the show places blame on the exploiter. Prismo died because the Lich is evil and clever and willing to use friendship as a weapon. Not because Prismo was foolish to have friends, not because trust is weakness, because evil exists and sometimes it wins battles. And that is tragic, but it does not make the original choice to connect with others wrong. The old man wanders through this tragedy completely oblivious. He woke up. People bothered him. He wants to go back to sleep. He has no idea that his dreams create consciousness, that his sleeping generates a being with thoughts and feelings, that waking just ended someone who mattered to people. He's just tired and confused and wants everyone to leave him alone so he can sleep again. This would be funny if it were not so sad. The cosmic significance happening around him while he just wants to get back to bed. The desperate attempts to explain that his dreams matter while he insists dreams are just random brain stuff. The complete disconnect between the metaphysical reality and his mundane experience of it. He is the most important person in this scenario and the least aware of his importance. His sleeping is an act of cosmic creation. His waking is an act of cosmic destruction. And he just wants to know why these strangers are in his room. Does he deserve to know? Does he have a right to understand that he dreams people into existence? Would that knowledge help or just burden him with guilt and confusion? The show does not let him find out. He gets sent back to bed, magically influenced to stay asleep, protected and controlled and managed like a resource, rather than a person because his personhood matters less than his function as the dreamer. That is its own kind of tragedy. The old man's autonomy gets violated, not maliciously, but necessarily, because letting him make his own choices about sleeping and waking could end Prismo permanently. So he gets managed, gets treated as a means to an end, gets his sleep maintained not for his benefit but for Prismo's. He becomes less a person and more a cosmic incubator, kept unconscious so his dreams can generate the being everyone actually cares about. Is this ethical? Again, Adventure Time asks the question without providing easy answers. Preserving Prismo's existence matters. The old man does not know or care about Prismo. Keeping the old man asleep seems like the obvious choice. but it is still controlling someone's consciousness without consent, still valuing the dream over the dreamer, still treating a person as a tool for maintaining another person's existence. The old man would probably choose to stay awake if he understood the situation. Would probably say that his autonomy matters more than some dream he does not remember. Or maybe he would choose to keep sleeping because he is kind and would not want to end someone's existence, even if that someone only exists because he dreams them. We do not know. Nobody asks him. He does not get a choice because giving him a choice is too risky. That is pragmatic but uncomfortable. Adventure Time shows us the discomfort without resolving it. Shows us that sometimes the right action still feels wrong, that sometimes preserving one person requires controlling another, that sometimes there are no good choices, just less bad options picked from a menu of ethical compromises. Prismo's death marks the moment when the show's cosmic mythology becomes genuinely tragic. Before this, cosmic beings were mostly comic relief or obstacles. After this, they are people who can be hurt, who can lose, who can cease to exist through no fault of their own. The universe gets darker, more dangerous, more willing to demonstrate that power does not equal safety, and cosmic significance does not protect you from ending. The Lich walks away having successfully killed a being that should have been unkillable, having demonstrated that even the Wishmaster, with all his power and all his rules and all his position at the centre of time, is vulnerable, having proven that existence, no matter how cosmic or powerful, depends on circumstances that can be disrupted. Having won this round of the eternal game between life and extinction, but he does not count on love, does not account for friendship being stronger than death, or at least stronger than the particular kind of ending that happens when dreams cease. Does not understand that Jake, grieving and guilty and desperate, will find a way to bring Prismo back because that is what you do for friends. That is the next section's territory. For now, Prismo is gone. The time room is empty. The old man sleeps again, unaware. Jake carries guilt. The cosmic owl grieves. And somewhere in the infinite possibility of Adventure Time's universe, the absence of the Wishmaster creates a vacuum that needs filling. Death came for Prismo in the form of waking. Silence fills the space where his presence used to be. The screens keep playing their infinite moments. The pickles wait in their jar. And the universe continues, indifferent to the loss of one dream, uncaring that someone who mattered ceased to exist because extinction found his weakness and struck. But the universe does not account for Jake, does not understand that friendship, when genuine, refuses to accept permanent endings, does not comprehend that some losses are too painful to live with when you have the means to undo them. The time room waits. The old man dreams, and in that dreaming possibility remains because in Adventure Time, even death is not always final, especially when you are a dream to begin with. The time room should not be empty. That is the thought that keeps circling through Jake's mind. The screens still play their infinite moments. The pickle jar still sits on the shelf. The beanbag chairs still wait for someone to sit in them. But Prismo is gone, and the space feels wrong without him. Like a sentence missing its subject. Like a joke with no punchline. Like cosmic architecture designed for presence that now contains only absence. Jake cannot accept this. Will not accept this. Because here is the thing about Jake that makes him different from most heroes. He does not accept permanent loss when he has any power to change it. He is not wise enough to know when fighting fate is futile. He is not philosophical enough to accept death as natural and inevitable. He is just stubborn enough and loving enough and desperate enough to look at an empty time room and think, no, this is wrong, I am going to fix this. The problem is that Prismo does not die in any conventional sense. He ceases. He stops being dreamed. You cannot resurrect someone who was never technically alive in biological terms. You cannot bring back a dream by normal means because dreams are not bodies that can be revived or souls that can be recalled from afterlife. Dreams just end when the dreamer wakes, and trying to restart them is like trying to unring a bell or unbreak glass. The action is done, the ending is final, except maybe it is not. Because if Prismo exists as the old man's dream, and the old man is dreaming again, then maybe Prismo could exist again. Maybe the dream could restart. Maybe you could hack reality at its most fundamental level, not by fighting it or overpowering it, but by understanding how it works and exploiting the loopholes in existence itself. This is where Jake does something that should be impossible. He decides to become the dreamer. The plan is absurd. The mechanics are metaphysically questionable. The logic bends causality until causality cries uncle and gives up. But Adventure Time operates on rules that prioritize emotional truth over physical law, and emotionally, this makes perfect sense. If Prismo exists as someone's dream, then someone needs to dream him. If the old man's dreaming is not bringing him back, then someone else needs to dream him into existence. And if Jake has to become that someone, then Jake will find a way to make it happen. The technical details involve time loops and corporeal forms, and the version of Prismo that exists in physical space briefly during one episode. That physical Prismo, the temporary body that Prismo manifests when he wants to interact with three-dimensional reality, becomes crucial to the resurrection plan. Because if physical Prismo can exist, and if Jake can enter the old man's dream, and if they can create a time loop that allows Prismo to perpetuate his own existence, then maybe death is not final. Maybe the dream can restart through recursive logic that makes philosophers weep but makes emotional sense. Jake approaches this with the same straightforward determination he brings to everything else. He does not fully understand the metaphysics. He does not entirely grasp how becoming the dreamer works, or what it means for him to exist in multiple states simultaneously. He just knows that his friend is gone, and there is a technical loophole in reality that might bring his friend back, and he is going to exploit that loophole until it either works or definitively fails. The process requires Jake to enter the old man's dream while the old man sleeps. This is already complicated because dreams are not places you can just walk into. They are experiences happening in someone else's consciousness, accessible only through sleep or magic or specific cosmic circumstances that most beings never encounter. But Jake has help. Finn is there. The Cosmic Owl probably assists in ways the show does not fully detail, and desperation makes people creative about finding solutions to impossible problems. Jake enters the dream. Not his own dream, the old man's dream. He becomes part of what the old man is experiencing while asleep, a lucid presence in someone else's unconscious narrative. And there, in that dream space, Jake does something that should not work but does. He starts dreaming Prismo. The logic is recursive and strange. Jake, inside the old man's dream, dreams Prismo into existence within that nested dream layer. Meanwhile, physical Prismo, who exists briefly before this whole resurrection attempt, sets up a time loop. The loop allows Prismo to exist before he is resurrected, which allows him to help set up his own resurrection, which allows him to exist, which closes the loop in a causality circle that makes linear time give up and go home. This is cosmic hacking at its finest, finding the exploit in reality's code, understanding that dreams within dreams can create recursive existence, recognizing that time loops, when properly constructed, can bootstrap someone back into being. It is not magic in the traditional sense. It is not fighting death. It is exploiting the fundamental weirdness of how existence works when beings are dreams, and dreams can be dreamed within dreams, and time is flexible enough to allow bootstrap paradoxes. And it works. Somehow, against all conventional understanding of life and death and existence, it works. Prismo comes back. Not unchanged, he remembers ceasing, remembers the old man waking, remembers the moment when his existence just stopped. That memory changes him, but he exists again. He is conscious again. He's back in the time room watching his screens, offering pickles, being Prismo again. The cost is staggering. Jake uses his wish for this. Not the sandwich wish. That was already used and consumed and enjoyed. But through complicated plot circumstances involving Finn's wish and cosmic favours, and the specific mechanics of how Prismo gets resurrected, Jake sacrifices his ability to ever wish for anything again. He gives up his one cosmic favour, his access to reality-bending power, his chance to reshape existence according to his desires. He trades all of that for bringing Prismo back. This is not a small sacrifice. This is Jake giving up literally anything he could ever want from cosmic power. He could have wished for Finn to have a family, could have wished for Lady Rainicorn to never age, could have wished for his own immortality or perfect happiness, or solutions to any of the countless problems that plague Ooh. The possibilities were infinite, and he traded all of them for one specific outcome: his friend existing again. Adventure Time subverts traditional hero narratives through this choice. The grand heroic act is not defeating the villain or saving the world. The Lich is already defeated at this point. Not permanently, because the Lich never stays defeated, but for now. The world is already saved. The immediate threats are handled. Jake's resurrection of Prismo does not prevent apocalypse or stop extinction. It just brings back someone he misses, someone he values, someone whose absence made the universe feel wrong in a way that saving the world could never make right. Traditional hero stories would give Jake 3 wishes and have him use the first 2 poorly before learning wisdom just in time to use the third correctly. Traditional narratives would make the resurrection a trial that tests Jake's worthiness. Traditional storytelling would require Jake to prove himself deserving of bringing back his friend, to overcome challenges, to earn the resurrection through conventional heroic acts. Adventure Time says no. Jake does not need to prove anything. He does not need to overcome trials. He just needs to love his friend enough to sacrifice everything else, and that is enough. That is the whole requirement. Love and willingness to give up power for connection. That is all heroism requires when stripped to its essential core. The show argues through Jake's choice that this is the highest form of heroism, not the flashy kind with swords and battles, not the grand kind that reshapes kingdoms or defeats ancient evil, the quiet kind where you give up everything you could have for one person you cannot lose, the kind that says relationships matter more than possibility, that connection matters more than power, that having your friend back matters more than having literally anything else you could wish for. Jake makes this choice without hesitation. There is no dramatic internal debate, no weighing of options, no consideration of what else he could do with a cosmic wish. Prismo is gone, Jake can bring him back, therefore Jake will bring him back. The logic is simple and absolute. Everything else is just details and mechanics and the complicated process of actually making it happen. When Prismo returns, he knows what Jake did, knows the sacrifice, knows that Jake gave up infinite possibility for this specific restoration. That knowledge changes their friendship. Not in obvious ways. They still watch movies, still share food, still joke about stupid stuff. But underneath the casual surface, there is depth now, gratitude that runs deeper than words. Recognition that Jake proved through action what words could never adequately express. Prismo cannot fully repay this, cannot give Jake another wish. Rules are rules, and Jake already used his. Cannot undo what was done or restore what was sacrificed. Can only exist again, which is exactly what Jake wanted. The exchange is not transactional. Jake did not resurrect Prismo expecting anything back. He did it because the alternative, living in a universe where Prismo stayed ceased, was unacceptable. This adds melancholy to their future interactions. When they watch movies now, Prismo knows he is watching with someone who gave up everything to make this moment possible. When they share pickles, Jake knows he is eating with someone who only exists because he chose friendship over power. The casualness remains, but it sits atop foundations built from sacrifice and love, and the understanding that some relationships are worth any cost. The Cosmic Owl witnesses this, witnesses Jake becoming the dreamer temporarily, witnesses the resurrection through impossible means, witnesses his best friend coming back from non-existence through someone else's willingness to sacrifice everything. That has to change how the Cosmic Owl sees Jake too, not as just Prismo's friend anymore, but as someone who proved that friendship can bend reality when love is strong enough and sacrifice is complete enough. The mechanics of the time loop deserve more attention because they reveal something profound about how Adventure Time treats causality. Physical Prismo exists briefly in an episode that happens before his death. That physical form, 3-dimensional Prismo walking around in reality, becomes the anchor point for the time loop. He helps set up his own resurrection by being present at the right moment to create the temporal recursion that allows him to exist again. This is a bootstrap paradox. Prismo exists to set up the conditions that bring Prismo back to existence. Cause and effect form a circle with no clear beginning. He is his own cause, his own effect, his own solution to the problem of his non-existence. Normally this would create logical contradictions that reality could not sustain. But Adventure Time operates on emotional logic, and emotionally this makes perfect sense. Of course, Prismo helps resurrect himself. Of course, the time loop allows him to be present for his own restoration. Of course, love and friendship can exploit temporal mechanics to defeat death. Linear time is a suggestion in Adventure Time, not a law. The show consistently demonstrates that causality is more flexible than we assume, that effects can sometimes precede causes, if the emotional truth is strong enough, that time itself bends around relationships when those relationships matter enough. Jake's determination to bring Prismo back creates the conditions that allow Prismo to help bring himself back, and the paradox resolves itself because the emotional mathematics balance even when the temporal mathematics do not. The resurrection also reveals something about the nature of existence in Adventure Time's universe. If Prismo can cease and then resume, if dreams can end and restart, if existence is permeable enough to allow resurrection through cosmic hacking, then death itself is not the absolute boundary it appears to be. Not that death does not matter. The show takes loss seriously throughout its run, but death is not always final. Sometimes, when you love someone enough and understand reality's rules well enough and are willing to sacrifice enough, you can bring people back. This should undermine stakes. If death is not permanent, why should audiences care when characters die? But Adventure Time handles this carefully. Prismo's resurrection is not easy. It requires sacrifice, specific circumstances, cosmic knowledge, and willingness to bend reality in ways that most beings could never achieve. It is possible but not casual, available but not cheap. You can resurrect someone, but it will cost you everything else you could have had. That maintains stakes while allowing hope. Death matters, loss is real, but love matters more, and sometimes love finds ways to overcome even permanent endings. Not always, not for everyone, but sometimes, in specific circumstances, when the right conditions align and someone is willing to pay the price, even dreams that end can dream again. Prismo after resurrection is different in subtle ways. He remembers ceasing. Remembers the moment when the dream awoke and Prismo's existence just stopped. That memory haunts him. Not constantly, but it is there. A knowledge that his existence depends on continued sleep happening elsewhere, that he is one awakening away from ending permanently. That vulnerability is built into his fundamental nature. He was always vulnerable, always depended on the dreamer, but experiencing the consequence of that vulnerability, actually ceasing, actually experiencing the end of existence, makes the knowledge visceral rather than abstract. He knows now what it feels like when the dream ends, knows that non-existence is not peaceful oblivion but just nothing, not experience. Not awareness, just the absence of being. This makes him value his existence more, value his friendships more, value the time he has knowing that time could end at any moment if someone decides to wake up an old man. He was already lonely before, already appreciated visitors, already treasured friendship. But after dying and being resurrected, he treasures these things with the intensity of someone who knows how easily they can be lost. Jake notices this, notices that Prismo holds moments slightly longer, appreciates jokes slightly more, says goodbye with slightly more weight. The casual friendship remains casual on the surface, but underneath, both of them know. Know that this almost ended. Know that it took sacrifice to restore. Know that it could end again at any moment, and next time, there might not be a cosmic loophole available to exploit. Does this make their friendship sadder? In some ways, yes. There is melancholy now in every movie night, every shared pickle, every casual conversation about nothing important. The awareness that this is temporary, that Prismo's existence is contingent, that even cosmic beings can cease if the conditions for their existence change. But that melancholy makes the moments more precious, makes the friendship more valuable, makes the choice to spend time together more meaningful. Because both of them are choosing this. Jake could avoid the time room, avoid the sadness of knowing his friend is fragile. Prismo could isolate himself, avoid forming attachments that will hurt when they inevitably end. Instead, they keep watching movies, keep sharing food, keep being friends despite the vulnerability, despite the awareness of fragility, despite knowing that this could end badly again. That is courage. Not the flashy heroic kind, but the everyday kind that chooses connection despite risk. That says, yes, This might hurt. But the alternative, not having this friendship, hurts worse. That accepts vulnerability as the price of relationship and pays that price willingly, because isolation is more painful than potential loss. The resurrection also impacts how Prismo approaches his role as Wishmaster. He was always careful about granting wishes, always followed the rules precisely. But after experiencing what happens when cosmic vulnerabilities get exploited, he is more aware of how wishes can be weaponized. More conscious of the gaps in his protection, more careful about who he trusts and how much he reveals about his nature. This should make him more paranoid, more closed off. But Prismo refuses that path, refuses to let fear dictate how he exists. He was killed through trust being exploited. The Lich used Jake's body, used Prismo's friendship against him. The logical response would be trusting less, isolating more, protecting himself through emotional distance. Instead, Prismo chooses to keep trusting, keep welcoming visitors, keep being open to friendship even knowing that openness creates vulnerability. That is defiance, not loud or aggressive, but determined. The Lich tried to teach Prismo that connection is weakness, tried to demonstrate that trust gets you killed. Prismo rejects that lesson completely. He returns from non-existence and immediately goes back to being the same friendly, welcoming, slightly lonely cosmic being he was before, because changing who he is to accommodate evil's tactics would be letting evil win in a way that actually matters. Adventure Time consistently argues that maintaining your values despite suffering is the highest form of victory. Not preventing suffering, you cannot always do that. Not avoiding loss, loss is inevitable, but refusing to let suffering and loss transform you into someone harder, colder, less open to connection. That is the real fight. That is where you win or lose not battles, but yourself. Prismo wins that fight. Comes back from death choosing love over safety, connection over isolation, friendship over the fear of being vulnerable again. Jake's sacrifice made resurrection possible, but Prismo's choice makes resurrection meaningful. He could have come back as someone different, someone more protected, someone less open to the risks that got him killed. Instead, he comes back as himself, which is the bravest thing he could possibly do. The time room after Prismo's return looks the same but feels different. The screens still play. The pickles still wait. The beanbag chairs still invite sitting. But now the space has history, has memory of being empty, has knowledge that this place, designed for presence, could become absence again if circumstances change. That memory sits in the room like a ghost, invisible but present, reminding everyone that cosmic spaces are as vulnerable as cosmic beings. But it also has proof that endings can be undone, that love can hack reality, that sacrifice opens doors that power alone cannot access. The time room is simultaneously more fragile and more resilient than before. Fragile because everyone knows Prismo can cease. Resilient because everyone knows Prismo can be brought back, at least under specific circumstances with specific sacrifices. This is Adventure Time's approach to death throughout the series. Death matters. Loss is real. Grief is valid. But death is not always the last word. Sometimes, through love and sacrifice and understanding reality's weird rules, you can bring people back. Not easily. Not cheaply. Not casually. But possibly. And possibility, even slim possibility, is enough to justify hope. Jake sits in the time room with Prismo, watching a movie about cosmic warriors fighting space demons. They debate whether the fight choreography is realistic given the warriors' established power levels. They share pickles. They make jokes about which character would win if they fought each other. Just two friends hanging out, doing friend things, enjoying each other's company. But underneath the casual surface runs the knowledge of what it took to make this moment possible. Jake gave up everything for this. Prismo came back from nothing for this. The Cosmic Owl witnessed the impossible happening because love refused to accept permanent endings. The universe bent its rules because friendship mattered more than cosmic law. The movie plays on one of the infinite screens. The pickle jar sits within reach. Time continues its weird, non-linear flow around the time room, and two friends exist together in a space that briefly knew absence, choosing connection over safety, choosing relationship over fear, choosing to be together despite knowing how easily this could end. That is resurrection through love. Not just bringing someone back from death, but choosing to live fully despite death's possibility. Not just hacking reality's code, but refusing to let reality's cruelty change who you are. Not just cosmic mechanics and time loops and bootstrap paradoxes, but the simple truth that some relationships matter more than existence itself. Jake used his wish to prove that truth. Prismo exists again to embody it, and the time room, for all its cosmic weirdness and metaphysical impossibility, becomes the place where that truth lives. One wish per person per lifetime. Jake used his for a sandwich once, then he used it to resurrect a friend. Both choices were perfect. Both choices were exactly right. Both choices demonstrated that Jake understood something most people never learn. That power matters less than how you use it. That cosmic wishes matter less than human connection. That having everything means nothing if you do not have the people who matter. The screens keep playing. The pickles stay fresh. The dream continues dreaming. And in the time room at the center of time, friendship proves stronger than death. Love proves stronger than endings, and sacrifice proves that sometimes, just sometimes, the impossible becomes possible when someone refuses to accept any other outcome. Prismo exists. Jake made that happen. That is all that matters. That is everything that matters. That is the whole point of having power, so you can use it when the people you love need you to bend reality on their behalf. The universe accepts this. The time loop holds. The dream continues. And somewhere, an old man sleeps, unaware that his dreaming keeps a friendship alive, keeps a cosmic being existing, keeps the time room from being empty. That is how you defeat death in the land of Ooh. Not with weapons, not with power, but with love stubborn enough to hack reality itself, with sacrifice complete enough to trade everything for one specific person, with friendship strong enough to drag someone back from non-existence through sheer unwillingness to accept their absence. The Lich thought he won when he killed Prismo. He was wrong. You cannot kill friendship. You can only test it. And friendship, when genuine, passes every test by refusing to accept failure as final. Welcome back, Prismo. The pickles are fresh. The movies are queued. Your friend is here. And the time room finally feels like home again. The time room has witnessed countless wishes across countless moments. For every wish we see in detail, the Lich's demand for extinction, Finn's panicked counter-wish, Jake's perfect sandwich, there are hundreds or thousands we never witness. People who found the time room somehow, spoke their desires, received what they asked for, and returned to their lives forever changed. The infinite screens show these moments if you know where to look. Wishes granted and forgotten, desires fulfilled and regretted. The entire spectrum of want made manifest through Prismo's cosmic power. Most wishes do not create alternate timelines or resurrect cosmic beings. Most wishes are smaller, more personal, more specific to individual circumstances that matter intensely to the wisher, but barely register in the grand cosmic scheme. Someone wishes for wealth and gets it, then discovers that having money does not solve the problems they thought it would solve. Someone wishes for love and receives artificial affection that satisfies the letter of the wish, but misses its spirit entirely. Someone wishes to forget painful memories and succeeds, then realizes those memories shaped who they are in ways they did not appreciate until the memories were gone. Prismo grants them all, the grand wishes and the petty wishes, the selfless wishes and the selfish wishes, the wishes that change reality and the wishes that change only the wisher. He processes desire without judgment, transforms want into reality according to rules older than Ooh itself, and watches as people live with what they asked for. The Ice King's failed wish attempt reveals something fascinating about identity, continuity, and the rules of cosmic bureaucracy. We know from Sons of Mars that the Ice King cannot wish because he has already used his wish. Not as the Ice King, but as Simon Petrikov before the crown fully consumed his identity. This means that on some fundamental level recognized by cosmic law, the Ice King and Simon are the same person, despite how completely the crown has fractured Simon's consciousness. Think about what this implies. The Ice King barely remembers being Simon. His personality is different. His desires are different. His understanding of himself is different. He would probably argue that he is not Simon anymore, that the crown created someone new, that Simon Petrikov died 1,000 years ago, and the Ice King is what remains. But the cosmic bureaucracy that governs wish granting disagrees. The wish slot is occupied. The Ice King and Simon are one continuous identity according to the rules that matter. What did Simon wish for? The show never tells us explicitly, and that omission is perfect because it allows speculation that reveals character. Simon, in those final moments before the crown fully took him, must have wished for something connected to Betty or Marceline. Something about protection, about survival, about love persisting through the apocalypse. He was a good man facing impossible circumstances, wearing a cursed crown, trying to protect the people he cared about while losing himself to magic he could not control. Whatever he wished for did not save him, did not prevent his transformation into the Ice King, did not keep Betty from vanishing into time trying to save him, did not stop the 1,000 years of lonely madness that awaited him. The wish was granted. Prismo grants all clearly spoken wishes, but granting did not equal solving. Simon got what he wished for and still lost everything that mattered. That is the tragedy the Ice King carries without remembering. He lives with the consequences of a wish he cannot recall, made by a person he barely knows he used to be. The Ice King in later seasons occasionally mentions wanting to visit Prismo again. Wanting another wish. The desperation is heartbreaking because he genuinely does not remember using his wish. The crown has taken that memory along with so much else. He sees others getting wishes granted and thinks, why not me? I deserve a wish. I need a wish. But the cosmic ledger says otherwise, says he already had his chance, says Simon Petrikov used the wish that the Ice King now lacks. Prismo presumably knows this, has to turn the Ice King away or explain that the wish is already used, has to disappoint someone who is already so disappointed by existence that disappointment barely registers anymore. The Ice King shuffles away from the time room still wishing, still wanting, still believing that if he could just get that one wish, everything would be better. Not understanding that he already got his one wish, and it changed nothing about the fundamental loneliness and madness that define his existence. This reveals something profound about wishes and happiness. The Ice King thinks a wish would solve his problems, fix his isolation. Give him the princess bride he obsessively pursues, or the friendship he desperately craves. But Simon already used a wish, presumably for something important. And look where he ended up. 1,000 years of magical dementia, kidnapping princesses who do not love him, living in an ice palace alone except for his penguin Gunter, barely remembering the good man he used to be. The wish did not save Simon. Another wish would not save the Ice King, because the problem is not lack of cosmic intervention. The problem is the crown, the isolation, the way magic corrupted everything good about Simon Petrikov and left only fractured ice and desperate loneliness. No wish can fix that. The Ice King just does not understand this, and maybe that lack of understanding is mercy. Maybe believing a wish could solve everything is better than accepting that some problems are beyond even cosmic power to resolve. Adventure Time uses the Ice King's failed wish attempt to argue that power is not the solution to every problem, that sometimes what you need is not reality-bending intervention but therapy, medication, community support, and time to heal. The Ice King needs his memories back, his sanity restored, his connection to who he was before the crown. A wish cannot give him that because those things are not objects to be granted. They are processes to be worked through. They are healing that takes time and effort and support from people who care about you. But the Ice King just wants to wish, because wishing seems easier than the actual work of getting better. That is addiction logic. That is magical thinking. That is the belief that one big change, one cosmic intervention, one perfect wish will solve everything without requiring the hard work of actual transformation. Prismo cannot give the Ice King what he needs because what he needs is not something you can wish into existence. Other wishes we hear about through references or brief mentions suggest a pattern. People wish for things they think they want, receive exactly what they ask for, and discover that having what they wanted does not feel like they thought it would. The gap between desire and satisfaction is where most wishes fail, not in the granting but in the aftermath when you realize that having something is different from wanting it. Someone wishes to be powerful and become strong but isolated because power makes others fear you. Someone wishes to be beautiful and achieves physical perfection but discovers that beauty does not guarantee love or happiness, or even basic respect. Someone wishes for adventure and gets more danger than they bargained for, learning too late that adventure from the outside looks different than adventure from the inside when you're the one in actual peril. Prismo grants these wishes honestly. The person becomes powerful, becomes beautiful, gets their adventure. The wish works exactly as specified. The problem is that people do not understand what they are asking for until after they receive it. They want the fantasy of power without the isolation it creates. They want the benefits of beauty without the objectification and shallow attention. They want adventure without actual danger or discomfort. Prismo gives them what they ask for, not what they fantasize about, and reality teaches them the difference. This is not Prismo being cruel or clever. This is just how desire works when fully actualized. We want things without fully understanding what having them means. We imagine outcomes without considering second-order effects. We focus on benefits without accounting for costs. Then the wish gets granted and we live with the actual consequences rather than the imagined ones. And we discover that our fantasy was incomplete at best and wrong at worst. The show suggests through these various implied wishes that most people are bad at knowing what they want. Not because they are stupid or short-sighted, but because desire is complicated and imagination is limited, and no one can fully predict how getting what they want will change their life and their understanding of themselves. You wish to be rich without understanding how wealth changes relationships. You wish to be famous without understanding how fame destroys privacy. You wish to live forever without understanding what eternity actually feels like. Prismo processes all these wishes with the weary professionalism of someone who has seen this pattern countless times. Someone wishes, he grants. They discover the wish did not solve what they thought it would solve. They live with the consequences. Maybe they grow from the experience. Maybe they just suffer and blame the wish instead of examining why they wished poorly. Either way, Prismo moves on to the next wish, next person, next opportunity to grant desire, and watch it transform into something complicated. There are exceptions. Jake's sandwich wish worked perfectly because Jake knew exactly what he wanted and wanted exactly what he asked for. A perfect sandwich. No hidden agenda. No complicated second-order desires. Just bread and ingredients assembled with cosmic precision. He got what he wanted, enjoyed it completely, and experienced zero regret. That is successful wishing by any reasonable metric, and it is also incredibly rare. Most people are not Jake. Most people want things they think will make them happy, without understanding what happiness actually requires. They wish for external changes, power, beauty, wealth, revenge, when what they actually need are internal transformations that wishes cannot provide. They want circumstances to change without changing themselves, and then they are confused when getting what they wished for does not make them feel different in the ways they hoped. Some wishes work in unexpected ways that end up positive. Someone wishes for strength and gets emotional resilience instead of physical power, discovering that emotional strength matters more than muscles. Someone wishes for love and meets their actual soulmate through the chain of events the wish sets in motion, even though the mechanism was different than they imagined. Someone wishes to be remembered and creates art that outlasts them, achieving immortality through cultural impact rather than literal eternal life. These are wishes that succeed not because Prismo cleverly reinterprets them, but because reality sometimes gives you what you need instead of what you asked for. The wish gets granted literally: strength, love, remembrance, but manifests in forms the wisher did not anticipate: lucky accidents, beneficial coincidences. The universe occasionally being generous in how it fulfills desires, giving people better versions of what they wanted than they knew to wish for. But luck is not reliable. Most wishes get exactly what was asked for in exactly the way it was asked for, and the results are mixed at best. Prismo cannot make people wish better, cannot force them to think through consequences or examine their desires before speaking them. He can only grant what is spoken clearly and watch as people discover whether what they wanted is what they needed. The variety of wishes also reveals how different beings approach cosmic power. Humans tend to wish for personal gain, wealth, power, love, revenge against specific people. Magical creatures wish for territory or increased magical ability. Cosmic beings wish for changes to fundamental reality. Each species, each culture, Each individual brings their own priorities and blind spots to the wishing process. But regardless of what is wished for, the pattern remains consistent. Wishes grant exactly what is asked for. Wishes discover that having what they asked for is different than wanting it. Consequences cascade through reality in ways the wisher did not predict. Life continues, complicated by the wish, but not fundamentally transformed by it in the ways people hoped. Prismo sits at the center of time, watching this pattern repeat infinitely. Watching people wish. Watching wishes granted. Watching people live with wishes they thought would change everything, but often just change circumstances while leaving the person themselves unchanged. That has to be exhausting. That has to be sad. Witnessing infinite desire meeting infinite reality, and creating infinite varieties of disappointment. Does he try to warn people? The rules probably prevent explicit warnings. He cannot say that wish will not make you happy, or you should think harder about what you're asking for. He can clarify what the wish will do, explain that wishing for the Lich to never exist will create an alternate timeline, for instance, but he cannot provide judgment about whether the wish is wise. That is not his role. His role is granting, not advising. But maybe he hints. Maybe in how he asks people to clarify their wishes, he gives them chances to reconsider. Maybe by explaining the rules slowly, by making sure they understand that this is their one wish forever, he creates space for reflection. Maybe his job includes subtle attempts to make people think harder about what they are about to do, even if he cannot explicitly tell them their wish is foolish. Or maybe he just grants wishes and accepts that most will not work out how people hope. Maybe that acceptance is part of his cosmic wisdom. Maybe after granting countless wishes and watching countless consequences, he understands that people need to make their own mistakes, need to wish poorly and live with it and maybe learn from it. That his role is not to prevent poor wishes but to grant all wishes honestly and let reality be the teacher. The Ice King keeps trying to wish. Keeps forgetting he already used his wish as Simon. Keeps believing that one cosmic intervention will solve the isolation and madness that define his existence. Prismo keeps explaining that the wish is already used. The Ice King keeps leaving disappointed. The cycle repeats every time the Ice King remembers the time room exists and forgets why he cannot access its power. That repetition is its own kind of tragedy. The Ice King cannot even learn from being denied because he forgets the denial, cannot grow from disappointment because he forgets the disappointment. Just keeps returning to the same desire, one wish, just one wish. Surely I deserve just one wish. Without remembering that Simon already had his chance and used it, and still ended up trapped in magical madness for 1,000 years. Other characters who visit the time room and learn about the one-wish limit react differently. Some hoard their wish, saving it for the perfect moment that never comes, because no moment ever feels perfect enough to justify using your one cosmic intervention. They die with their wish unused, having spent their entire life waiting for the right time to use it, not understanding that the right time is whenever you have a clear desire you genuinely want fulfilled. Others use their wish immediately for whatever they want in that moment, like Jake with his sandwich. No consideration of future needs, no strategic thinking about optimal wish deployment. Just, I want this now, and speaking the wish and enjoying the result. Those people tend to be happier because they do not spend their lives paralyzed by the weight of having one perfect wish available. They use it, enjoy it, and move on. The strategic wishers who save their wish for the perfect moment tend to end up like people who save their best items in video games for the final boss, and then beat the final boss without using them. They spent the whole game carrying this powerful resource, too afraid to use it, believing the perfect moment was coming, and then the game ended and they never used it at all. That is a waste different from using your wish poorly, but still a waste. Adventure Time suggests through these various approaches that the best strategy is Jake's strategy. Want something clearly, wish for it, enjoy it, move on without regret. The wish is a tool. Use it like a tool. Do not obsess over it. Do not hoard it. Do not let having one cosmic intervention available paralyze you with the anxiety of using it perfectly. Just use it for what you want when you want it, and trust that living your life matters more than optimizing one cosmic moment. Some wishes create ripples we never see fully explored. Someone wishes for a plant to grow, and that plant becomes important to someone else's story later. Someone wishes for a specific person to love them, and the magically compelled affection creates unhealthy relationship dynamics that affect multiple people. Someone wishes away a problem, and the problem relocates rather than disappears, becoming someone else's crisis. Wishes do not exist in isolation. They change reality, and changed reality affects everyone, not just the wisher. Prismo presumably tracks these ripples on his infinite screens, watches how one person's wish creates consequences for people they never met, sees the butterfly effects cascade through time, knows that granting a wish in one moment creates situations in other moments that affect lives that will not exist for centuries. He bears witness to all of it, but cannot intervene beyond granting the original wish that started the cascade. That is a special kind of burden, knowing you create consequences but being unable to prevent harmful ones. Watching people make decisions that will hurt others, and being required to facilitate those decisions because the rules say clearly spoken wishes must be granted. Having power to reshape reality, but not authority to refuse reshaping it in ways you know will cause suffering. Does Prismo feel guilt about the wishes that go badly? The show never confirms this, but the implication is there in how carefully he interacts with wishes. He is not casual about granting wishes. He is not flippant. He treats each wish seriously, makes sure people understand the parameters, gives them opportunities to reconsider. That carefulness suggests someone who has seen wishes go badly and wants to minimize that outcome even though he cannot prevent it entirely. The wishes we see and the wishes we hear about create a comprehensive picture of how desire works when given unlimited power. People want things without fully understanding what they want or why they want it. They receive what they wished for and discover it does not satisfy the way they imagined. They live with consequences they did not predict. They either grow from the experience or remain trapped in the same patterns of wanting things without examining what they actually need. Prismo grants all these wishes from his position at the center of time, grants them honestly, completely, without judgment, but also without the ability to prevent people from wishing poorly. He is cosmic power made manifest, infinite possibility made accessible, but he is also just a person doing a job he did not choose, following rules he did not make, trying to process human desire through cosmic mechanics, and hoping that maybe, occasionally, someone wishes well enough that getting what they wanted actually makes them happy. The Time Room has seen infinite wishes. We'll see infinite more. Each one a small story of desire meeting reality. Each one a moment where someone believed cosmic power could solve their problems. Each one granted exactly as spoken, with consequences exactly as unpredictable as reality always is when you try to reshape it according to want rather than need. And Prismo watches, grants, moves on to the next wish. The screens keep playing, the pickle jar stays fresh. The cosmic bureaucracy continues processing desire into reality, one wish at a time forever, for everyone who finds the Time Room and speaks what they want, clearly enough for cosmic power to hear. Most wishes do not create farm world. Most do not resurrect cosmic beings. Most just change one person's circumstances in ways that matter intensely to that person, and barely register on the cosmic scale. But each wish matters to the wisher. Each wish is their one chance to bend reality. Each wish represents hope that power can solve what wisdom could not figure out. Prismo grants them all the same, the wise wishes and the foolish wishes, the selfless wishes and the selfish wishes, the wishes that work and the wishes that backfire. Because those are the rules, because that is his function, because at the center of time someone has to process desire into reality, and that someone is Prismo, watching infinite moments on infinite screens, offering pickles to visitors, granting wishes without judgment, and living with the knowledge that most wishes will not make wishes as happy as they hope. But sometimes, occasionally, someone wishes for a sandwich and gets exactly what they wanted and enjoys it completely. And those moments make the job worthwhile. Those moments prove that sometimes, just sometimes, people know what they want and want what they know and get it, and are satisfied. Those moments are rare, but they exist, and Prismo has seen them, and they give him hope that maybe the next wish will be one of the good ones. The Time Room waits. The next wisher will arrive eventually. They will speak their desire. Prismo will grant it. Reality will bend. Consequences will cascade. and the eternal process of wanting and getting and discovering what getting actually means will continue. 1 wish per person per lifetime. Most people waste it. Some use it wisely, a few use it perfectly. All of them live with what they wished for forever. And Prismo, at the centre of time, grants them all the same, watching as desire transforms into reality, and people learn whether what they wanted was what they needed. The screens keep playing, the wishes keep coming, and the cycle continues, infinite and eternal, at the time room where dreams grant wishes and wishes create consequences, and consequences teach lessons that most people learn too late to wish differently. Prismo is not supposed to be wise. He's supposed to grant wishes, follow protocols, process cosmic paperwork, and exist at the centre of time watching infinite screens while waiting for the next person to arrive, wanting something impossible made possible. Wisdom is not in his job description. Wisdom is what you develop from living, from making choices, from experiencing consequences. And Prismo does not live in the conventional sense. He exists. He dreams. He is dreamed. He watches life happen on infinite screens but cannot participate, except when people visit the time room, bringing their desires and their desperation and their hope that cosmic power can solve what wisdom could not figure out. Yet Prismo has wisdom anyway. Not the loud kind that announces itself through pithy sayings or profound declarations. The quiet kind that accumulates through witnessing infinite moments, granting infinite wishes, existing at the intersection of desire and consequence for longer than most beings have been alive. He understands something fundamental about want and need and the gap between them. He knows things about power and limitation, and the way rules create freedom by defining boundaries. He has learned through endless repetition that connection matters more than capability, that friendship matters more than function, that who you are to other people matters infinitely more than what you can do. Adventure Time uses Prismo to explore what it means to have power without freedom. He can grant any wish imaginable, can reshape timelines, can make the impossible happen with 5 words clearly spoken. That is power beyond what most beings ever access. Power that should make him one of the most significant forces in reality. Power that should insulate him from ordinary concerns like loneliness or vulnerability or the need for friendship. But power does not work that way. Having the ability to reshape reality does not give you the ability to reshape your own circumstances. Prismo can grant any wish except the ones that would free him from the time room, from his dependence on the dreamer, from the cosmic bureaucracy that defines his existence. He has infinite power directed outward and 0 power directed inward. He can change everyone's life except his own. That is the central tragedy and the central wisdom of his character. Power and agency are not the same thing. You can have cosmic abilities without having control over your life. You can reshape reality for others while being unable to reshape it for yourself. The Wishmaster who grants every wish cannot wish himself free, and that paradox reveals something true about how power actually works in the universe. Most power is contextual, situational, defined by rules and roles and the systems that grant authority. Prismo has power within his domain, the time room, wish granting, reality manipulation according to specific protocols. Outside that domain, he has nothing, cannot leave, cannot change his fundamental nature, cannot even protect himself from the simple act of someone waking up elsewhere. His power is vast but bounded, impressive but limited, cosmic but conditional. Adventure Time argues through Prismo that this describes all power, not just cosmic wish-granting. Everyone has abilities within specific contexts and limitations everywhere else. Everyone operates within systems they did not create and cannot change. Everyone has rules they must follow even when those rules feel arbitrary or cruel or counterproductive. Prismo is just the most obvious example of a pattern that applies universally. But what makes Prismo wise rather than just powerful is how he responds to his limitations. He does not rage against the rules. Does not spend his infinite time resenting the boss, or cursing his dependence on the dreamer, or wallowing in bitterness about his cosmic imprisonment. He decorates his prison like a home, keeps pickles fresh for visitors, watches movies not because he has to, but because finding joy in small things makes existence bearable, when existence is largely solitude punctuated by occasional company. That is wisdom. Not accepting limitations, Acceptance implies you had a choice and chose surrender, but living fully within limitations. Making the bounded space you occupy feel like somewhere worth being, creating meaning and connection and small pleasures in circumstances that could easily become pure isolation and despair. Prismo cannot escape the time room, so he makes the time room feel less like a cage and more like a place where friendship can happen. The show consistently demonstrates that Prismo's greatest power is not wish-granting. It is his capacity for friendship despite loneliness, his willingness to keep welcoming visitors despite knowing most just want something from him, his refusal to let cosmic isolation make him bitter or closed off or unwilling to form connections. That is power that matters more than reality manipulation, because it is power that makes existence meaningful rather than just possible. Think about what Prismo could have become. An entity with his power and his isolation could easily turn cruel, could grant wishes maliciously, finding satisfaction in watching people suffer the consequences of poorly considered desires, could become the traditional genie figure who tricks wishes and punishes hubris, and treats cosmic power as an opportunity to demonstrate mortal foolishness. Could use wish-granting as entertainment, as power trip, as the only relief from endless boredom. Prismo chooses differently, chooses kindness when cruelty would be easier, chooses honesty when deception would be more interesting, chooses to grant wishes as faithfully as possible, explaining rules clearly, giving people chances to reconsider, treating each wisher with respect even when their wishes are foolish or destructive or motivated by petty desires. He does not judge, does not condescend, does not use his position to feel superior to beings who come before him wanting things. That is radical kindness. Choosing generosity of spirit when your circumstances justify bitterness. Treating people well when they mostly treat you as a cosmic vending machine. Maintaining your values when your job requires you to facilitate wishes you know will cause suffering. Prismo embodies this kind of ethical consistency across every appearance, proving that circumstances do not dictate character, that you can be kind in cruel situations, that you can be generous when you have every reason to be selfish, that who you choose to be matters more than what your situation demands. Adventure Time uses Prismo to demonstrate that even cosmic beings are fundamentally just people, not people in the biological sense. Prismo is a two-dimensional wish-granting dream without biology or conventional life, but people in the sense that matters. He has personality, has preferences, has loneliness and hope and the desire for connection, has friendships he values more than his cosmic responsibilities, has fears and vulnerabilities, and the capacity for joy when something good happens. The show refuses to make Prismo purely functional. He's not just the wishmaster who exists to grant wishes and advance plot. He is a person who happens to grant wishes as his job, but his job is not his identity. His identity is the being who watches movies with Jake, who values the cosmic owl's friendship, who keeps pickles not because cosmic law requires it, but because having pickles available makes him feel more like he has a home rather than a prison, who experiences grief when friends cease to exist and joy when they return, who chooses connection over safety even after learning how brutally that connection can be exploited. This is Adventure Time's core philosophical position. Personhood matters more than power level. The Lich is powerful, but not a person in any meaningful sense. He is entropy incarnate, extinction given form, functionally just a force rather than a being. Prismo is powerful, and also fundamentally a person, which makes him vulnerable, but also makes him matter in ways the Lich never could. You cannot be friends with the Lich. You cannot share pickles with extinction. You cannot watch movies with entropy. But you can with Prismo, because Prismo chose to be a person, rather than just a function. The wisdom Prismo embodies extends beyond his personal choices to what he represents about existence itself. He lives at the centre of time, seeing all moments simultaneously, witnessing every event that has occurred or will occur across infinite timelines. That should make him omniscient. Should give him perspective that transcends normal understanding. Should make him wise in the traditional sense where wisdom means knowing things others do not know. But Prismo's wisdom is not about knowledge. It is about acceptance, about understanding that seeing everything does not mean you can change everything, that knowing all moments does not give you control over any moment. That infinite information does not translate to infinite power. He watches everything and can affect almost nothing, except through the specific mechanism of wish granting, which follows rules he did not make and cannot modify. That creates a different kind of wisdom, the wisdom of witnessing without intervening, of seeing suffering and being unable to prevent it, of understanding exactly what will happen when someone makes a poor wish but being prohibited from warning them, of existing at the nexus of all possibility while having almost no agency to influence which possibilities become reality. That is wisdom born from limitation rather than capability, from powerlessness rather than power. Adventure Time suggests through Prismo that this might be the only wisdom that actually matters, not knowing things, not having power, but understanding how to exist meaningfully within limitations you cannot transcend, how to maintain your values when circumstances make those values costly, how to keep choosing connection when connection makes you vulnerable, how to be kind when kindness is difficult, how to offer pickles to visitors even when most visitors just want wishes. The relationship between Prismo and Jake crystallizes this wisdom perfectly. Jake does not have cosmic power, cannot grant wishes or see all of time or reshape reality. But Jake has something Prismo cannot create through wish granting, authentic friendship offered freely without expectation of reciprocity. Jake visits Prismo because he wants to spend time with him, treats him like a person worth knowing independent of his abilities, values him for who he is rather than what he can grant. That transforms Prismo's existence from cosmic imprisonment to cosmic connection. The time room is still bounded. Prismo still cannot leave. The limitations remain absolute. But within those limitations, friendship creates meaning that transcends the boundaries. When Jake visits, Prismo is not the Wishmaster trapped at the center of time. He is just Prismo, hanging out with his friend, watching movies and sharing pickles, and experiencing the simple joy of company. That is the alchemy friendship performs. It does not change circumstances, does not remove limitations, does not solve problems or grant freedom. It just makes existence within limitations feel less like imprisonment and more like life. That is magic more powerful than wish granting because it creates meaning rather than just reshaping circumstances. It transforms suffering into bearable experience and isolation into solitude that occasionally includes company. When Jake sacrifices his wish to resurrect Prismo, he demonstrates the logical conclusion of this wisdom. Power, in the form of a cosmic wish that could grant literally anything, matters less than relationship. Having infinite possibility available matters less than having one specific person exist again. The wish is power, the friendship is meaning. When forced to choose between them, Jake chooses meaning without hesitation, because meaning is what makes power worthwhile in the first place. Prismo returns from non-existence knowing this. Knowing that someone valued him enough to trade everything for his restoration. Knowing that his existence matters not because of his function, but because of his relationships. Knowing that the Wishmaster is less important than Prismo, the person, the friend, the being who watches movies and shares pickles and chooses kindness when circumstances justify bitterness. That knowledge changes him subtly but significantly. He was always kind, always welcoming, always willing to form friendships despite the loneliness of his existence. But after resurrection, after experiencing ending and returning through someone else's sacrifice, he knows viscerally that he matters, not as the Wishmaster, as himself, as the person Jake refused to lose, as the friend worth any cost. Adventure Time uses Prismo to explore what happens when you strip away power, position, cosmic significance, and just look at what remains. What remains is a person who gets lonely, who values connection, who wants someone to watch movies with, who keeps hoping the next visitor will stay just to hang out, who decorates his cosmic prison like a home because hope that someone will visit means maintaining a space where visiting feels welcome. That is humanity at its core. Not power, not significance, not accomplishment or capability or any of the things we usually use to measure worth. Just the desire for connection, the hope that someone will see you as valuable independent of your utility. The willingness to be vulnerable enough to form relationships despite knowing those relationships create risks. Prismo is human in the ways that matter despite being a two-dimensional wish-granting dream at the center of time. The wisdom he embodies is accessible to everyone. You do not need cosmic power to practice it. You do not need to grant wishes or see all of time or exist outside normal reality. You just need to choose kindness when bitterness is easier. Choose connection when isolation is safer. Choose to maintain your values when circumstances make those values costly. Choose to decorate your limitations like a home rather than resenting them like a prison. Prismo does this for eternity at the time room. Everyone can do this wherever they exist, within whatever limitations define their circumstances. The specifics differ. The principle remains constant. Make the space you occupy feel like somewhere worth being. Invite connection despite risk. Value people for who they are rather than what they can provide. Choose generosity when scarcity is the norm. That is wisdom independent of power, accessible to anyone willing to practice it. The show's treatment of cosmic beings consistently demonstrates this philosophy. The cosmic owl judges prophetic dreams but values friendship more than his cosmic function. Death conducts souls to afterlife but still makes time for weird interactions with mortals. The boss enforces cosmic rules but presumably has their own relationships and concerns beyond bureaucracy. Every cosmic entity we meet has personality, preferences, vulnerabilities, capacity for connection. They are people first, cosmic forces second. This is Adventure Time's revolutionary approach to mythology. Most fantasy treats gods and cosmic beings as fundamentally different from mortals, incomprehensible, alien, operating on principles that transcend human understanding. Adventure Time says no. Cosmic beings are just people with weird jobs and unusual circumstances. They get lonely. They want friends. They make jokes and eat snacks and watch movies and experience the same basic emotional needs that everyone experiences regardless of power level. Prismo exemplifies this perfectly. He has power that should make him godlike. He exists at the center of time with access to infinite information. He can reshape reality through wish granting, yet his actual concerns are deeply mundane. He wants company. He hopes visitors will like him. He keeps pickles fresh. He watches movies. He grieves when friends cease existing. He experiences joy when they return. His cosmic significance is real, but it is secondary to his personhood. What would we wish for if we met Prismo? That is the question Adventure Time wants us to consider. Not theoretically, but seriously. If you found the time room somehow, if you stood before the Wishmaster, if you had one wish for anything you could clearly articulate, what would you choose? And more importantly, would that wish actually give you what you need, or just what you think you want in this moment? Most people would wish poorly, would ask for wealth or power or revenge or love without thinking through what having those things actually means. Would receive what they asked for and discover that getting what they wanted does not feel like they imagined. Would live with consequences they did not predict. Would maybe learn from the experience or maybe just blame the wish for not solving everything. Jake wished for a sandwich and got exactly what he wanted with zero regret. That is wisdom that looks like simplicity but is actually profound clarity. Knowing what you want, wanting what you know, getting it, being satisfied. Most people cannot achieve that even with cosmic power available. The deeper question is whether wishes matter at all, whether cosmic intervention solves problems or just relocates them, whether having power to reshape reality addresses the fundamental issues that make us wish for things in the first place. Prismo grants wishes but cannot solve the core problem, that people want things without understanding themselves well enough to know what they actually need. Adventure Time suggests that what we need is not wishes. What we need is what Prismo has found through his limitations and his loneliness and his cosmic imprisonment: connection, meaning. Relationships that value us as people rather than for our utility, kindness given and received. The small joys that make existence bearable even when existence is mostly struggle. Pickles shared with friends, movies watched together, the knowledge that someone would sacrifice everything to bring you back if you cease to exist. That is wealth no wish can grant. That is power no cosmic intervention provides. That is what makes life worth living, whether you exist at the center of time with infinite capability or in a small apartment with limited resources. The wisdom is the same. The lesson applies universally. People matter. Connection matters. Being valued for who you are rather than what you do matters more than anything cosmic power could provide. Prismo teaches this through his existence, through his choices, through his friendships and his kindness and his refusal to let cosmic isolation make him bitter, through his willingness to keep welcoming visitors even after one of those visitors was used as a weapon to kill him, through his decision to remain open to connection despite knowing how brutally that openness can be exploited, through the simple act of keeping pickles fresh, because maybe today someone will visit who wants one. That is the wisdom of the Wishmaster. Not about wishing, about being, about existing fully within limitations, about choosing kindness and connection and meaning even when circumstances make those choices difficult, about decorating your prison like a home and hoping someone will visit, about valuing people more than power and relationships more than capability, about understanding that infinite wish-granting ability matters less than one genuine friend who sees you as worth knowing. The time room continues existing at the centre of time. The screens keep playing their infinite moments. The pickle jar waits on the shelf. Prismo grants wishes according to rules older than Oo itself, processing desire into reality, watching as people learn whether what they wanted was what they needed. The cycle continues eternally, infinite wishes for infinite people across infinite time. But sometimes, occasionally Jake visits. Not for a wish, just to hang out, just to watch movies and share pickles and spend time with someone he values. And in those moments, the time room transforms from cosmic prison into cosmic home. The loneliness recedes. The isolation becomes solitude that includes company. And Prismo, for all his power and all his limitations, experiences the only thing that actually matters, being valued by someone who chose to be there. That is what Prismo teaches us. That is his legacy in Adventure Time's mythology. That is the wisdom that emerges from existing at the centre of everything, while being unable to change anything about your own circumstances. Choose connection. Choose kindness. Choose to be present for people despite the risks. Choose to maintain hope that someone will value you independent of your utility. Choose to live fully within your limitations rather than resenting them, and keep the pickles fresh. You never know when a friend might visit. You never know when the isolation will break into connection. You never know when someone will look at you not as the Wishmaster, but as Prismo, as a person, as someone worth knowing and worth saving and worth sacrificing everything to resurrect when the universe takes you away. The screens keep playing, the wishes keep coming. And the eternal question remains, what would you wish for if you met Prismo? Would you wish well or poorly? Would you ask for what you want or what you need? Would you get a sandwich or try to reshape reality? Or would you just stay a while, watch a movie? Share some pickles. Treat the Wishmaster like a person rather than a cosmic resource. Maybe that is the wisest wish of all. Not wishing. Just being present with someone who has infinite power, but mostly just wants company. The time room waits. Prismo waits. The next wisher approaches. And at the centre of time, where all moments converge, the wisdom remains constant. People matter more than power. Connection matters more than capability. And sometimes keeping pickles fresh is the most meaningful thing you can do with eternity. What would you wish for? The answer reveals more about you than about wishes. And maybe, just maybe, the best answer is nothing at all. Maybe the best answer is asking Prismo what movie he wants to watch tonight. Maybe the best answer is seeing past the cosmic power to the person behind it and choosing to be his friend instead of his customer. That is what Jake figured out. That is what the cosmic owl knows. That is what the universe keeps trying to teach through Prismo's existence at the centre of time. The wishes do not matter. The wish granter does. And when you understand that, you understand everything Adventure Time wants to tell you about power, meaning, and what makes existence worthwhile across all levels of reality, from talking dogs to wish-granting dreams to everything in between. The screens keep playing. Will you visit? And if you do, what will you ask for? Choose wisely, or choose simply, or choose not to wish at all. Just choose to see Prismo as a person, and that choice might be worth more than any cosmic intervention could ever provide.